Chapter 1039. When the night gradually passed and the day arrived, the chilly wind that was blowing gradually quieted down. The evil spirits all over the field paused for a moment before their bones, as if they were being eroded by time, lost their luster and became gray and withered, falling apart and scattering to the ground. The spectral spirit flames also descended and sank back into the ground, like strange spirits returning to their nest. In Chen Zong's eyes, this scene had an indescribable magnificence. "Brother Chen, see you in ancient War City." Wu Lingkong smiled at Chen Zong, turned around, and with a crackling sound, thunder filled the air, and a shocking blade light tore through the sky as he quickly flew away. "See you in ancient War City," Chen Zong said to Wu Lingkong's rapidly disappearing back. Taking a deep breath, Chen Zong used his wild wind fantasy cloud leg, causing the wind to swirl around his body and clouds to fill the air. His figure became light, and with a single leap he crossed several hundred meters. When there was no battle, there was no need to use his full strength. Ancient War City was obviously not as dangerous during the day as it was during the night. The wind blew the sand and desolation filled the field. Vaguely, Chen Zong saw the outline of a collapsed city in front of him, one that had long since been abandoned. A figure with a bit of panic quickly ran out of the ruined city, surrounded by rolling clouds, causing Chen Zong's pupils to narrow as he vaguely felt a sense of familiarity. After the figure that was fleeing in panic, another figure chased after him with lightning-fast speed. Fan Feiyu. As the distance closed, Chen Zong saw the figure through the clouds. It was Fan Feiyu, a disciple of Floating Cloud Palace, who was being chased. With a thought, Chen Zong immediately rushed towards Fan Feiyu at an even faster speed. In any case, Fan Feiyu came from Floating Cloud Territory's Floating Cloud Palace, and the Floating Cloud King had shown him kindness. Seeing Chen Zong rushing towards him, Fan Feiyu was overjoyed at first, but then he thought of something and his expression changed greatly, quickly waving to Chen Zong, Go quickly." His voice was urgent. As the distance closed, Chen Zong could see that Fan Feiyu's face was pale, obviously injured, and it was not light. The pursuer continued to approach, his cold face and murderous intent condensing in his eyes, passing by Fan Feiyu's figure and falling on Chen Zong's face like a knife, causing Chen Zong's heart to tremble slightly. Chen Zong's figure did not stop, and soon he passed by Fan Feiyu. Fan Feiyu's pale face was filled with anxiety, but when she saw Chen Zong rushing towards the pursuer, she gritted her teeth and did not take the opportunity to escape. Instead, she stopped and quickly turned around and rushed towards Chen Zong. The sword light flashed and streaked across the sky. It was so dazzling that Fan Feiyu squinted his eyes. At the same time, the pursuer also pulled out his long saber, the saber light shocking the world, piercing through the sky. In an instant, the saber and the sword collided, and the two figures charged at each other with an astonishing aura. The terrifying saber light and sword chi raged, cutting in all directions like a domain of saber and sword. Fan Feiyu stopped again, her beautiful eyes wide open, her face full of surprise. She was well aware of the strength of the person chasing after her. Even if she gave it her all, she would not be able to last more than 10 moves. But now, Chen Zong had exchanged countless moves with him, and he did not seem to be at a disadvantage at all. A burst of joy and hope emerged from the depths of her heart. The green sword light was as dazzling as if it was made of divine gold. It tore through the sky and shattered the opponent's saber light, sweeping past. Green cloud slashing. This move was considered the ultimate move of the green cloud sword technique. It was very powerful, but it was not easy to perform, as it needed to be compressed into the sword. However, as Chen Zong continued to comprehend and improve on the way of the sword, it became easier to perform this move. The sword light dissipated, leaving only a green sword mark that spread across the sky and did not dissipate for a long time. The black light sword returned to its sheath. The pursuer stared at Chen Zong in a daze, his eyes wide with some disbelief. It seemed that he did not expect to be killed. However, his heart that had been pierced and minced let him know that he was really going to die. He had almost lost all his strength and no longer had any strength to fight back. Chunzong took the pursuer's long saber, which was a first-grade spiritual weapon, and the storage ring, which were both spoils of war. You killed him. Fan Feiyu approached and stared at the corpse on the ground. Her beautiful eyes widened in disbelief. In Fan Feiyu's view, the pursuer's strength was not much weaker than Li Jingyu's, but he was killed by Chunzong, and Chunzong was unscathed. It seemed that he did not even use much strength. This indirectly showed that Chunzong's strength was now clearly superior to Li Jingyu's. Weren't you traveling with Li Jingyu and the others? Chunzong looked at Fan Feiyu. This beautiful disciple of the floating cloud palace was pale and her hair was slightly disheveled. She was a little embarrassed. As if sensing Chunzong's gaze, Fan Feiyu's pale face flushed. She subconsciously tidied her messy hair and quickly replied, I was traveling with senior brother Lai, junior brother Zhua, and the others. After 2 nights, we lost 2 senior brothers. Fan Feiyu explained the situation in brief words. On the first night, they encountered the battlefield evil ghost and lost 1 person. On the second night, they were lucky enough to find a shelter. They were not injured or killed. However, they encountered the geniuses of other domains in the ruined city ahead. There was no special reason. It was a simple law of the jungle, and an inevitable battle broke out. During the battle, another person was killed. The remaining 4 people followed the previous agreement. Whoever had a chance to escape would escape, and the others would cover for them. Fan Feiyu found a chance to escape, and Li Jingyu and Zhua Tianyun covered for her. However, one of the opponents also chased after her. She was lucky enough to meet Chunzong, and was saved by Chunzong. Let's go. Making a prompt decision, Chunzong immediately used his movement skill and went to the ruined city. Fan Feiyu was shocked. She did not expect that Chunzong would choose to save her. Slightly stunned, she also used her movement skill and quickly followed. Chunzong's speed was as fast as lightning. He left Fan Feiyu behind him and disappeared into the distance. Stepping into the ruined city, Chunzong felt several auras fluctuating. The auras were blazing and constantly colliding. Obviously, there was a battle. The sword light was swift and fierce, like clouds surging in the sky. The sword chi broke through the sky and forced 1 person to retreat, relieving the pressure on Li Jingyu. Li Jingyu was fighting against 2 strong enemies alone. The other disciple of Floating Cloud's palace was lying on the ground. He was not dead, but he was seriously injured and had no strength to fight for a while. As for the other disciple, he was dead and even his body began to feel cold. Li Jingyu and the others had a total of 4 enemies. 2 of them were besieging Li Jingyu, 1 was fighting fiercely with Zhua Tianyun, and the other was holding a sword in his arms. He tilted his head slightly and looked at them with interest. Although he did not make a move, his faintly discernible chi had locked onto Zhua Tianyun and Li Jingyu. It seemed that he would immediately attack and kill them as soon as he had a chance. Li Jingyu was fighting against 2 enemies alone, but Zhua Tianyun's left arm was bleeding. He was already injured and his strength was also affected. Although he could resist the opponent's attacks, he was gradually at a disadvantage. It seemed that his defeat was only a matter of time. The eyes of the person holding the sword moved from Zhua Tianyun to Li Jingyu because Li Jingyu was stronger. Suddenly, his eyes shone with an incomparably sharp cold light. The sword in his arms suddenly flew up. His right hand grabbed the air and pulled the sword out. The sword light was sharp and pierced the sky. It was as fast as the wind and as violent as lightning, destroying everything. Li Jingyu, who was resisting the attacks of the 2, changed his expression greatly. He hurriedly used his body movement to retreat, but this sword had been planned for a long time and was difficult to completely avoid. Li Jingyu's shoulder was directly pierced. He made a prompt decision and shook his body. His figure accelerated and retreated, letting the long sword out to prevent his shoulder from being torn apart. With a boom, his chest was hit by a palm. His robe was torn, and his protective spiritual power was also shattered. Like a roar, his whole body flew backward and spat out blood. There was a patch of black where the palm hit his chest was, as if it had been burned by a raging fire. Even the blood that was spurting out emitted an astonishingly high temperature. "Kill him!" The person standing on the side sheathed his sword and said in a cold voice. After being hit by his sword and a palm, the injury was not light. His strength was greatly reduced, and there was only a dead end. There was no need for him to make a move. The two people attacked again and again. Li Jingyu forcibly gathered his strength, regardless of the injuries on his body. However, his injuries were not light, and his strength was indeed weakened. He was beaten back again and again. His body was hit by another palm, and he flew backward again. His face was pale. "Die!" One of them leaped into the air with an aggressive aura like a goshawk swooping down from the sky. Both of his hands stretched out like the claws of an eagle and the paws of a tiger. Vaguely, there seemed to be the sharp cry of an eagle and the vigorous roar of a tiger. The chi of heaven and earth surged and rushed forward. It was as if a vague eagle and tiger shadow were intertwined. After being hit by a sword and two palms, his body was burning and his spiritual power was in chaos. Li Jingyu gathered all his strength, but it was difficult for him to gather and mobilize the chaotic spiritual power in an instant. "Am I going to die here?" Li Jingyu's heart was filled with unwillingness. As the most outstanding disciple of the Floating Cloud Palace, he had a firm martial heart and the will to pursue the Tao. He was extremely eager to reach the peak. The most direct way to enter the upper district through the ancient battlefield was to enter the upper district. Although the Floating Cloud King had made it very clear that the ancient battlefield was full of dangers, and a little carelessness could lead to death, Li Jingyu had long been mentally prepared. However, he really did not want to die. At least, he did not want to die like this. However, the arrival of death was often so sudden and irresistible. Senior brother Li Zhuotianyun was distracted and was immediately hit by the opponent's blade. His skin and flesh were split open and blood flowed out. Suddenly, the chi of heaven and earth surged and turned into green clouds that filled the sky. It was as if a gust of wind had blown through the air. The shocking pressure immediately surprised everyone. Then, an extremely sharp green sword light tore through the sky and cut a gully in the hard ground. It broke through the air at a speed faster than the speed of sound. This sword was aimed at the person in the air in front of Li Jingyu. If he insisted on killing Li Jingyu, he would be hit by this sword and both sides would be injured. The person hesitated slightly, and Li Jingyu seized the opportunity. Under the strong will to survive, a force burst out from the depths of his body and quickly retreated. Chapter 1040. The shadow of the leg was like a mountain, heavy and vigorous. Its power was unparalleled, making Chen Zong feel suffocated. The sword light was shattered, and the majestic power of the mountain followed the continuous kicks. The earth cracked, and the yuan qi of heaven and earth roared like a mountain python, crazily roaring. It felt like he was fighting against the pressure of the mountain with his own strength. Fan Feiyu, who was running from afar, felt this aura. His face changed greatly, and he almost suffocated. Chernzong's face was a little serious. He looked at the mountain-like shadow of the leg. The hard ground cracked inch by inch under the terrible pressure, and gullies were cut open. It was like an earth dragon turning over, spreading towards him with amazing power. He waved his sword. The sword light was green, like a waning moon. The chi of heaven and earth roiled, turning into green clouds in the sky. It rushed out at an amazing speed, as if it could destroy everything. Green Cloud City destroying Green Cloud sword technique. The roar was incessant and earth-shaking. The two kinds of chi of heaven and earth clashed, as if two armies were fighting and tearing each other apart. A terrible pressure broke out, rushing in all directions, and the shocking roar was earth-shattering. Immediately, the shadow of the leg and the sword light collided, as if two generals were tearing each other apart. On the other side, Zhuotianyun used all his strength to fight back, but it was only a matter of time before he was defeated. Li Jingyu was seriously injured, but because of Chen Zong's arrival and help, he had some time to recover. His power calmed down and he gathered it again, barely managing to fight back. As for the man with the sword in his arms, he did not attack, but stared at Chen Zong. In his view, this man who suddenly came to attack was a certain threat. The other two were already injured, and it was only a matter of time before they were defeated, so there was nothing to worry about. Chen Zong stepped out, and his legs rolled up a gust of wind, and he attacked in the air. The scattered chi of heaven and earth in the sky condensed again. The green clouds rolled, but they did not rush forward. Instead, they rotated rapidly around a point, and a funnel dropped down from the center. The power on the black light sword condensed, and the green color was as dazzling as divine gold. The long sword broke through the air. Not good. The eyes of the man holding the sword suddenly froze and his expression changed. Without any hesitation, he leaped into the air and pounced on Chen Zong. He raised his long sword and the sword light flashed like a white crane's sharp beak. It pierced through the void and charged toward Chen Zong. Chen Zong pointed with his left hand, and a beam of cyan sword chi shot through the air. It was none other than the sword chi of green cloud shattering. Chen Zong's green cloud sky shattering sword chi was not weak at all. It pierced through the air and clashed with Chen Zong's sword. Chen Zong held the sword in his right hand and used the green cloud destruction to tear apart Chen Zong's mountain-like leg shadow. Their figures crossed each other, and a wisp of blood splattered out. It was shattered in an instant, turning into a bloody mist that dissipated with the wind. As soon as Chen Zong landed on the ground, he stomped his feet on the ground. The earth trembled and cracked inch by inch. The tyrannical force propelled Chen Zong forward at lightning speed. His sword pierced through the air and attacked Zhuotianyun's opponent. This sword was extremely fast, and Zhuotianyun's opponent was caught off guard as he was fighting fiercely. Zhuotianyun immediately seized the opportunity when he turned around to block Chen Zong's sword. He raised his long sword and slashed down fiercely. Clouds surged and lightning arcs leaped. The power was amazing. Instantly, he was attacked from two sides. His expression changed greatly and he was horrified. However, this was a fatal situation and there was no way out. As for the man who had been watching from the side, he wanted to attack Chen Zong with his sword, but he was entangled by the green cloud sky shattering sword chi for a moment. It was too late. Kill. The second person died. Zhuotianyun felt that he was almost exhausted and weak. Chen Zong held his sword and attacked Li Jingyu's opponent. The cyan sword light was as dazzling as divine gold, making it difficult for people to look directly at it. The man forced Li Jingyu back with one palm and quickly turned around. His palms turned red and the temperature was amazing. He continuously attacked Chen Zong. The chi of heaven and earth was rolling, containing amazing heat, as if it was going to evaporate and burn everything into ashes. Unfortunately, such high temperature was no threat to Chen Zong at all. Chen Zong's body had long been tempered by the purple cloud true flame and was not afraid of high temperature. In other words, as long as the temperature did not exceed the purple cloud true flame, it was difficult to pose any threat to Chen Zong. Ignoring the opponent's high temperature, the opponent's palm technique was weakened by a lot. The remaining power was nothing to worry about. A ray of green cloud sky shattering sword chi shot out and tore the sky apart. The third person died. In the end, there was only one person left. You should die 100 times for killing my junior brother of the beast martial sect. That person was enraged to the extreme. His long hair suddenly fluttered in the wind, and an astonishing aura surrounded his body, instantly expanding. That aura turned white like a dragon coiling around, quickly spreading to the body of the sword, causing the sword chi to increase exponentially. The long sword slashed out, and the yuan chi of heaven and earth seemed to condense into a white crane in the air. The sword light was incomparably sharp. This sword had already used a secret technique and exploded with full power. The beast martial sect. Chunzong's heart moved slightly. The eastern martial domain was east of the floating cloud region. There was a 6-star force called the beast martial sect. In terms of overall strength, the eastern martial domain was in the middle of the 36 lower regions, surpassing the floating cloud region. The beast martial sect's overall strength also surpassed the floating cloud palace. However, it did not matter to Chunzong. He had even killed the Wind Palace disciple of the Anha region, let alone a disciple of the beast martial sect. Moreover, he was an enemy. He should kill him, no matter what force he came from. Another azure cloud sky shattering sword chi tore through the air. To Chunzong, as his strength increased, the might of the azure cloud sky shattering sword chi was already inferior to the azure cloud extinction that was executed at full strength. Naturally, it was not a trump card anymore. 100% spiritual power. Green cloud force. Heart sword force. Pushing all of his strength, heaven and earth yuan chi poured into the profound light sword, causing it to tremble and emit a melodious sword cry. As the green cloud sky shattering sword chi shattered under his opponent's sword, Chunzong's sword also tore through the sky. Green cloud extinction. After using green cloud extinction many times, Chunzong's understanding of it had deepened and its power had also increased. Heaven and earth yuan chi clashed and the two swords collided. An extremely tyrannical force surged out in all directions. Sword chi shot out, cutting through the surrounding area, causing the ground to crack inch by inch. Then, an invisible force lifted the ground a few inches and turned it into dust. The opponent's cultivation was higher than Chunzong's, at the early stage of the Transcendent Realm 5th layer, and his spiritual power was also stronger than Chunzong's. Unfortunately, Chunzong had only mastered one kind of transcendent secret technique, while his opponent had used a secret technique similar to the green cloud sword body. It was a second-grade secret technique, which greatly increased his strength. The sword chi collapsed and the two swords collided, one blue and one white. Their long hair fluttered behind their heads, and their robes seemed to be blown by a strong wind. Their eyes were extremely sharp. With a bang, the purple flame dragon force rushed out and quickly spread out, covering the black light sword and burning everything in its path. The sword's power increased explosively, and it shattered the opponent's sword and continued forward. Kill. In front of the opponent's horrified eyes, the black light sword directly cut off his head. The cut was charred black, and even the blood vessels were burnt. Not a single drop of blood spurted out. From the moment Chunzong appeared to save Lai Jingyu to the moment he killed 4 people, the whole process was very short. In just 12 breaths of time, the battle was over. Zhuotian Yun and Lai Jingyu were both heavily injured. Coupled with the impact of the battle, they were in a daze. Fan Feiyu, who had rushed over, covered her mouth with her hand as her eyes widened in shock. Chunzong moved quickly and collected all the spoils. There were a total of 4 storage rings, all of which were second-grade storage rings, 3 first-grade spirit artifacts, and 1 second-grade spirit artifact. After all, Lai Jingyu and Zhuotian Yun were not ordinary people. When they reacted, they stared at Chunzong in horror. Especially Lai Jingyu. He felt even more incredulous. He felt that his strength was not inferior to Chunzong's. The outcome of this battle was unpredictable, but he did not expect the gap to be so big. Could it be that his previous feeling was wrong? In fact, it was not. Before entering the fiery ancient battlefield, Lai Jingyu's strength was indeed similar to Chunzong's. But after entering the fiery ancient battlefield, Chunzong first entered the mysterious subspace and comprehended a sword move. He also merged the blue cloud force and the heart sword force, and his strength improved significantly. Then, he had a great breakthrough in his body refining cultivation, and his strength in close combat was even more terrifying. It could be said that in close combat, Chen Zong's strength had increased by several times. Li Jingyu and Zhuo Tianyun finally woke up and took out medicinal pills to heal their internal and external injuries. At the same time, they recovered their consumed strength. Fan Feiyu also took out medicinal pills for herself and the seriously injured Floating Cloud Palace disciples on the ground. Chen Zong stood off to the side, and as he inspected the 5 storage rings, he also stood guard for them. The 5 storage rings were all second-grade storage rings, and there were a lot of things in them. There were quite a few low-grade primordial stones, and there were also medicinal pills. The medicinal pills were healing medicinal pills and spiritual power recovery medicinal pills. In the storage ring of the most powerful disciple of the Beast sect, Chen Zong also found a scarlet soul crystal, which was an unexpected surprise. Then, Chen Zong found a piece of inheritance spiritual jade, but he did not know what was in it. With a move of his spiritual sense, he touched the inheritance spiritual jade and entered it. Suddenly, a burst of information emerged, including words and pictures. In just 10 breaths, Chen Zong finished receiving the information in the inheritance spiritual jade. It was a martial art, a movement martial art. Sky crane chasing wind, a middle-grade spiritual level movement martial art. The inheritance spiritual jade was intact, indicating that this movement martial art could be inherited many times. The phantom wind and cloud leg was a low-grade spiritual level leg technique, which had the effect of a movement martial art. The sky crane chasing wind was a middle-grade spiritual level martial art, which was a pure movement martial art. In terms of movement, it was completely superior to the phantom wind and cloud leg, which made Chen Zong a little happy. After all, the better the movement, the faster his speed, and the faster the movement, the better his overall ability. While guarding Li Jingyu and others, so that they could heal and restore their strength without any worries, Chen Zong comprehended the sky crane chasing wind. The cultivation of this movement was a little interesting. First, visualize the heavenly crane, and then let the spiritual power flow in a unique path. In this way, one could enter the entry level. When one was proficient in using it, it was a small success. When one could fully exert its power, it was a great success. As for trance, it was a deeper level of comprehension and mastery. The amazing comprehension brought by the powerful soul and the spiritual sense that surpassed one's own cultivation allowed Chen Zong to quickly comprehend some of the mysteries of the sky crane chasing wind and enter the entry level. The spiritual power flowed in his body in a strange path, which made Chen Zong have a very wonderful feeling. It was as if his body had become lighter, and he was vaguely about to change his shape and become a crane that flapped its wings and flew into the sky. Chapter 1041. Today's kindness, I will always remember it in my heart. If there is a chance in the future, I will definitely repay you. Li Jingyu cupped his fists to Chen Zong and said solemnly. Li Jingyu was very proud. He was saved by Chen Zong and was grateful, but he did not intend to invite Chen Zong to travel with him. Being saved had already affected his pride. If he invited Chen Zong to travel with him, it was tantamount to borrowing Chen Zong's power to protect them. His pride would be shattered. Brother Chen, I will never forget your kindness, Zhuo Tianyun said to Chen Zong with a smile. Fan Feiyu hoped that Chen Zong would travel with them, but unfortunately, Li Jingyu did not express his opinion. She was familiar with Li Jingyu's temperament. She knew very well that Li Jingyu would not invite Chen Zong to travel with them, especially under such circumstances. Chen Zong also did not have any intention to travel with them. See you in Li Guwar City. Chen Zong smiled and turned around. With a shake of his arms and a wave of his sleeves, his posture was graceful. Like a white crane spreading its wings, a burst of air surged, and the heaven and earth Yuan Qi surrounded him. His body became light as he leaped into the air. In the blink of an eye, Chen Zong flew hundreds of meters away. With another glance, he was thousands of meters away, quickly disappearing. "Let's go too," Li Jingyu said. The four people who had recovered all their strength once again formed a team and set off. The direction of the four of them was the same as Chen Zong, because that was the direction to Lai Gu War City. It is worthy of being called a middle-grade spirit-level movement technique. Feeling the strong wind blowing from the left and right, feeling the light and graceful figure, like a white crane riding the wind, he secretly exclaimed in his heart. With the martial intent of the phantom wind kick as the foundation, and his previous accumulation of movement techniques, coupled with his strong soul and perception, cultivating Sky Crane Windchaser was exceptionally smooth. Soon, Chen Zong cultivated it to the Deshang realm and was able to fully display its power. Sky Crane Windchaser was a pure movement technique, and it was also a middle-grade spirit-level movement technique. When cultivated to the Deshang realm, its speed was even faster than the phantom wind kick. Chen Zong believed that if he could cultivate it to the extreme and master body intent, his speed would increase again. Now that he was using the Heavenly Crane Windchaser movement technique to travel, not only was his speed faster, but it was also more convenient for Chen Zong to deeply meditate on his martial intent. He would strive to reach the trance stage, then reach the entering perfection stage, and then finally comprehend and master a martial intent. The ruined land was completely empty, and not a single person could be seen. All of a sudden, the air was like a stone thrown into a calm water surface. Layers of ripples spread out in all directions and quickly spread out. A figure quickly shuttled out of it. It was as if he had come out of the water. He landed on the ground and quickly swept his body. Then, he immediately used his movement skill and swept across the sky like a thunderbolt blade light. Then, another 3 figures jumped out of the water and landed on the ground. They immediately used their movement techniques and quickly chased after him. Wu Lingkong, hand over the liquefied elemental essence. Wu Lingkong, we only want 2/3 of the liquid essence. You can have 1/3. The 3 of them shouted as they chased. Wu Lingkong, your strength is indeed not weak. We don't have the confidence to deal with you one-on-one, but with the 3 of us joining forces, you are absolutely not our match. We also don't want to fight to the death with you. We only want you to hand over 2/3 of the liquid essence. If you want the liquid essence, then take it with your own ability. Wu Lingkong's tone was cold and harsh. One-on-one, none of the 3 were his match. But when the 3 of them joined forces, their strength increased exponentially. He didn't have the confidence to win unless he recklessly erupted with all his might. Wu Lingkong's speed was extremely fast. The 3 people chasing after him were not slow either, but they were somewhat inferior to Wu Lingkong. If they continued like this, Wu Lingkong would be able to escape. The 3 of them had no other choice. Their cultivation was inferior to Wu Lingkong's, and their speed was also inferior to his. If they could catch up, they would have already done so. Why would they need to threaten him? The more they chased, the uglier their complexions became. Seeing the distance between them and Wu Lingkong increasing, could it be that Wu Lingkong was really going to escape? If Wu Lingkong escaped and found time to refine the liquid essence, Wu Lingkong's cultivation would increase and his strength would increase. At that time, even if the 3 of them found Wu Lingkong again, not to mention the fact that there was no more liquid essence left, even if they joined forces, they still wouldn't be a match for Wu Lingkong, whose cultivation had increased. Because right now, with the 3 of them joining forces, they were only slightly stronger than Wu Lingkong. It's Senior Brother Yu. Senior Brother Yu, stop Wu Lingkong. He has a large amount of liquid essence. Seeing a lone figure in front of them, the 3 of them immediately shouted loudly. Wu Lingkong, a large amount of liquid essence. The lone Yu Xingji's expression suddenly changed greatly. His eyes emitted an extremely sharp cold light. Turning his head, he stared at a blade of lightning that was flying over from afar. Wu Lingkong, stay here. Yu Xingji jumped, soaring dozens of meters. With a flick of his right hand, a cold light broke through the air and condensed into a 2-meter-long golden spear. The 6 spirit wheels in his body rapidly revolved. Spiritual energy surged and transcendent secret energy poured into the spear. Golden light shone brightly as the spear pierced through the sky. With a boom, Yu Xingji's unity of man and spear shot down like a golden meteor towards Wu Lingkong. Yu Xingji. Wu Lingkong's complexion suddenly changed. Yu Xingji came from the fierce martial region's golden astral sect, one of the 3 six-star forces in the fierce martial region. Their combined strength was only slightly inferior to the great heavenly thunder sect that Wu Lingkong came from. Yu Xingji was the number 1 disciple of the golden astral sect. In terms of cultivation and strength, he wasn't inferior to Wu Lingkong. A formidable opponent. Facing Yu Xingji's tyrannical attack that was like a meteor striking down from the sky, Wu Lingkong's eyes emitted a terrifying light. His expression was solemn, and the long blade on his back leaped up, blazing with lightning. Slash! The black lightning instantly broke through the sky and rushed forward violently, smashing all obstacles as it shot forward. The golden spear light collided with the purple lightning blade, and an incomparably tyrannical force bombarded in all directions. Its power was unparalleled, and the aftermath tore apart space. Layers of earth waves surged in all directions. A storm swept through, and dust soared into the sky. It was earth-shattering. The extremely tyrannical force impacted both sides, causing Yu Xingji's figure to stop in midair. Wu Lingkong's momentum also paused, and the 3 golden astral sect disciples behind him quickly chased after him. Yu Xingji twisted his waist, and a tyrannical force surged. Golden spiritual highland bombarded the sky, pushing Yu Xingji's body to fall at an astonishing speed. The golden spear trembled, and the body of the spear swung. Layers upon layers of spear shadows fell like a sudden rain, densely packed. Every spear shadow carried an extremely terrifying power, and it was extremely strong and strong. It shattered the sky, and it blasted mercilessly. The 3 golden astral sect disciples behind him also made their moves when they were at a suitable distance. The golden spiritual highland surged, turning into blade aura and palm prints. Accompanied by the surging world's essence chi, they bombarded Wu Lingkong. He was attacked from the front and back. Wu Lingkong's face was cold. He held a long blade in his hand, as if he was holding a purple lightning. The lightning jumped and slashed in the air. An arc surrounded his body, and the lightning surged wantonly. Under the blade, the area within a radius of 10 meters was covered by lightning. It was like a thunder prison. The lightning soared into the sky and mixed with the world's essence chi, turning into rolling dark clouds with endless lightning shuttling back and forth. All the attacks were blocked, but the lightning was also constantly shattered. It was difficult to withstand. With a slash of the blade, countless lightning spread out. The blade light shocked the world, as if it was tearing the sky apart. Yu Xingji landed on the ground, and the golden spear continued to bombard. Each spear was like a falling meteorite, and its power was unparalleled. There was nothing special about the martial arts of the golden astral sect, or relatively speaking, it was very normal. There was nothing outstanding about it, but their cultivation technique was very famous. Golden aura transformation technique. It could transform spiritual energy into spiritual highland, highly compressed, and extremely strong. Its frontal power was very terrifying. The cultivation technique and martial arts that Wu Lingkong cultivated were tyrannical and suitable for frontal attack. He immediately attacked Yu Xingji head-on, but at the same time, he also had to guard against the attacks of the other 3 people. He was immediately suppressed by Yu Xingji. It had to be said that Wu Lingkong's strength was indeed very terrifying. He was able to hold on under the joint attack of a person who was not inferior to him and 3 people who were slightly inferior to him. However, at this rate, he would not be able to hold on for long. "Brother Wu, let me help you." A voice entered Wu Lingkong's ears, startling him. He saw a familiar figure quickly flying over from afar. It was Chen Zong, whom he had met once before. "Brother Chen, be careful. These 4 people are very strong." Wu Lingkong also responded. The 2 of them were transmitting their voices, so Yu Xingji and the other 3 did not hear them. Of course, they also knew that someone was approaching, so they paid attention. Scram! Yu Xingji's personality was overbearing. As he struck out with his spear, an extremely terrifying spear light shot out like a golden meteor. Its power was vast and mighty, shattering the air in front of it. Countless streams of air swept past the golden spear light, as if they were rushing against the current. It was a shocking sight. This spear light shattered the space around it and was extremely powerful. This kind of power caused Chen Zong's complexion to change drastically. It was impossible to resist. Even if he used all his strength, he would not be able to resist this spear light. It was too strong. Pushing his heavenly crane chasing wind to the extreme, Chen Zong quickly moved to the side, narrowly avoiding the golden spear light. The golden spear light shot out from Chen Zong's aurora jet and passed by him, creating a vacuum in the air around him. The astonishing suction force caused the surrounding air to surge violently, like a cyclone. The ground was also affected by the shockwave, creating a deep gully. Chen Zong couldn't help sucking in a breath of cold air. Yu Xingji's cultivation was at the middle transcendent realm 6th layer, and Wu Lingkong's cultivation was also at the early transcendent realm 6th layer. As for the other 3, 2 of them were at the early transcendent realm 6th layer and 1 was at the peak transcendent realm 5th layer. All of them had higher cultivation than him. In terms of strength, all of them were at the transcendent realm. Chen Zong's heart sank slightly, but he did not feel fear. After Yu Xingji shot out his spear, he did not attack Chen Zong again. Firstly, he could tell that Chen Zong's cultivation was only at the transcendent realm 4th layer, so he did not put him in his eyes. Secondly, Wu Lingkong had strengthened his attacks on Yu Xingji to pin him down. "Brother Chen, this matter has nothing to do with you, leave quickly." Wu Lingkong also realized that Chen Zong's cultivation was not strong enough and immediately said, if Chen Zong had not planned to attack before, leaving would not be a problem, but since he had already decided to attack, leaving now would be going against his conscience. Chapter 1042. Thunder rumbled, lightning flashed, and the dark clouds condensed from world energy in the sky became darker and darker, as if they were about to collapse the earth. Black lightning bolts as thick as a thumb shot out from the dark clouds. Below, Wu Lingkong did not dodge and was directly struck by the black lightning bolt. His whole body trembled as the black lightning bolts entered his body. Lightning battle armor. The low roar was like a muffled thunderclap. Countless black thunderbolts were absorbed into his body and instantly rushed out. They filled Wu Lingkong's body and directly covered it, condensing into a pitch-black battle armor. Countless lightning arcs flickered as it covered his entire body and limbs. Wu Lingkong, who seemed to be wearing a black lightning battle armor, gave off a fierce and domineering feeling, his aura soaring. Great Heavenly Thunder Sect's 3rd grade secret technique, Lightning Battle Armor, has been cultivated to the minor accomplishment stage. As this thought flashed through his mind, Yu Xingji was surprised. Your Great Heavenly Thunder Sect has a 3rd grade secret technique. Does my Golden Astral Sect not have one? As soon as this thought fell, Yu Xingji's weak body suddenly trembled and the sound of bones cracking rang out one after another, as if something was exploding inside his body. A golden light swept through every part of his body. Immediately, Yu Xingji's body grew taller and his muscles bulged, as if he had transformed from a scholar into a fierce man. An even more tyrannical aura erupted from his body and rushed out in all directions. Golden Astral Sect's third-grade secret technique, Adamantine Battle Body. Yu Xingji had also cultivated the Adamantine Battle Body to the minor accomplishment stage, and when he displayed it, his strength soared, not inferior to Wu Lingkong's. The other 3 Golden Astral Sect disciples also displayed the Adamantine Battle Body, but their Adamantine Battle Body was only at the entry level, so its power was not as strong as Yu Xingji's, but it still greatly increased their strength. The pressure on Wu Lingkong did not lessen, but instead increased. Chen Zong's expression was extremely solemn. Very strong, each one of them was very tyrannical. Even the Transcendent Realm 5th Layer Cultivator, after using that secret technique, made his heart palpitate. Perhaps in terms of talent, he was not inferior to them, but there was no comparison. Compared to the other sect, the Blue Cloud sect was too weak. The highest secret arts and martial arts were spirit grade low rank, and the highest secret techniques were second grade. Right now, he needed at least a third-grade secret technique to increase his strength. This was also the reason why Chen Zong had taken the risk to enter the fiery ancient battlefield and enter the upper province's great sects. It was because the great sects had more advanced cultivation methods, martial techniques, and secret technique. They also had more complete and powerful inheritances, cultivation environments, and resources. While Wu Lingkong and the others were using powerful secret techniques to increase their strength, Chen Zong was also making preparations. The 4 spiritual wheels rotated at full speed, and spiritual energy gushed out. Then, Chen Zong mobilized the Azure Cloud Force and the Heart Sword Force. It could be said that other than the Dragon Force, even the power of the Purple Cloud True Flame was completely mobilized by Chen Zong. When these forces were mobilized at the same time, their auras were very strong. However, under Chen Zong's tyrannical spiritual sense, they were completely restrained. In addition, in order to avoid being detected, Chen Zong's movements were very secretive. The speed at which he mobilized his forces was slower than usual. This was also the reason why Chen Zong asked Wu Lingkong first. If Wu Lingkong had the ability to hold them back or even defeat them later, he would have made a move. But now, it seemed that Wu Lingkong had become stronger, but these people had also become stronger. Rumbling thunder. Sky strike. In an instant, an even more terrifying force erupted from Wu Lingkong's body. Countless black lightning bolts shot down from the thick dark clouds in the sky and bombarded the black lightning saber. As Wu Lingkong raised his arm, the saber was raised high. Countless lightning bolts struck down, and a tyrannical force was constantly transmitted, causing the light to become deeper and deeper. Suddenly, Wu Lingkong leaped into the air, held the saber with both hands, and slashed down fiercely. Rumbling thunder sky strike. This was a secret technique that Wu Lingkong had obtained from the forbidden area of the Great Heavenly Thunder Sect. It was a third-grade secret technique. Since obtaining this secret technique, Wu Lingkong had only cultivated it, but had not used it in front of others. Today it was showing its prowess. Yu Xingji and the other 3 Golden Astral Sect's disciples were shocked. They burst out with all their strength and attacked Wu Lingkong in the air. However, the first pitch-black lightning bolt struck down from the sky. Its power was tyrannical to the extreme, and it was incomparably terrifying. It instantly defeated the 3 Golden Astral Sect's disciples. Immediately, the second saber slashed down and collided with Yu Xingji's spear. An extremely tyrannical force exploded, and rings filled with astonishing tension raged out, shattering everything. Under the tyrannical force, Yu Xingji's expression changed greatly. His spear trembled incessantly, and his arms sank, slightly numb. The terrifying force even caused the ground under his feet to collapse. The third saber slashed down again. Its speed was extremely fast, and Yu Xingji and the others had no time to dodge. They could only take it head-on again. Rumbling thunder sky strike. Once it was used, it could continuously attack in an extremely short period of time. Moreover, each attack was made with all of one's strength. This was the essence of this third-grade secret technique. At the entry level, one could continuously attack 3 times, and at the small success level, one could instantly attack 6 times. Wu Lingkong had cultivated this secret technique to the small success level. The 4th attack. The 5th attack. The 3 golden astral sex disciples were completely defeated and were seriously injured. The 6th attack. Yu Xingji's entire body trembled. He felt as if his bones and tendons were broken. His entire body was in pain, and there was even a tyrannical thunder force wreaking havoc on his body, wantonly destroying everything. He was very clear that this was the extraordinary power that Wu Lingkong had mastered, the power of rumbling thunder. Fortunately, the golden astral sex golden aura transformation technique was very tyrannical. Coupled with his adamantine battle body, his defensive power was even stronger, and he could barely resist it. After the 6th attack, Wu Lingkong's figure fell down. The lightning armor collapsed, his aura was weak, and his face was pale. The strength in his body was almost exhausted. His bones and tendons were injured, and his meridians were damaged. All in all, his injuries were not light. Both sides were injured. Wu Lingkong himself was not lightly injured, and his strength was almost exhausted. It could be said that he did not have much strength left. The 3 golden astral sex disciples who were originally chasing after him were also seriously injured. One by one, they fell to the ground and lost their fighting strength. Ha 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 ha! Yu Xingji stood with his spear in hand. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and laughed wildly at Wu Lingkong. Wu Lingkong, you really exceeded my expectations. You actually cultivated a second third-grade secret technique. While laughing wildly, Yu Xingji was actually still in fear. His original strength was about the same as Wu Lingkong's, and the two of them could be considered old opponents. There had never been a victor, but he never thought that Wu Lingkong would actually have such a hidden technique. If not for his 3 junior brothers sharing a portion of Wu Lingkong's attack, he would definitely not be able to withstand those 6 tyrannical attacks. Even if he did not die, he would be on the verge of death. Even now, he had used all his strength to resist Wu Lingkong's attack, but he still felt pain all over his body. He had also used up a lot of his strength, and his strength had decreased greatly. If there was another attack, he would not be able to withstand it. Fortunately, now it was his turn. With a shake of his spear, a golden light raged like a storm and directly blasted towards Wu Lingkong. Although Yu Xingji still wanted to ridicule Wu Lingkong, he was clear that Wu Lingkong might still have some tricks up his sleeve. If Wu Lingkong had time to recover, he might recover some of his strength. At that time, it would not be so easy to kill him. He directly attacked, and a golden spear light was about to engulf Wu Lingkong. Cloud shatter. At the same time, a voice that was not loud rang out, but it was filled with astonishing power. Chen Zong attacked with his sword. The moment the sword stabbed out, the sword disappeared, as if it had transformed into a wisp of smoke, and slowly moved forward with the wind. It seemed slow, but it was actually extremely fast, surpassing the speed of sound by a lot. The wisp of smoke rose in spirals, like a wisp of smoke from a farmer's kitchen at dusk, casual and relaxed. However, when the wisp of smoke approached Yu Xingji's expression suddenly changed, and he felt a chill run down his spine. Without hesitation, he changed the direction of the spear that was aimed at Wu Lingkong and blasted towards the wisp of smoke. A rumbling sound reverberated, and the wisp of smoke actually burst forth with an incomparably terrifying power, like a volcanic eruption, like a huge wave that overflowed into the sky, and like a landslide. All the power hidden within the wisp of smoke was unleashed in an instant, and instantly exploded. It was as if a wave of power was about to shatter the sea of clouds in the sky, and it was extremely terrifying. All the power was blasted out without holding back. The heaven and earth shook, and the heaven and earth origin energy in the sky surged from all directions. It was low and oppressive, and the earth cracked. The golden spear light was shattered in an instant, and the extremely terrifying power instantly blasted towards Yushingji. If he was in his peak condition, Yushingji was confident that he could withstand this attack. However, he was currently injured and did not have much power left, so this attack immediately made him feel the danger of death. Without caring about anything else, he erupted with all his strength, and the extraordinary power of Vajra instantly filled his entire body, forming an even more astonishing defense. He raised both his arms, and the spear carried the last of his power as it fiercely smashed down, as if it could smash a mountain. A rumbling sound rang out, as if the sky had collapsed, and the earth had sunk. The astonishing power rushed in all directions, sweeping through everything like a hurricane, destroying the heaven and earth. Chen Zong instantly erupted with dragon power, and his figure flashed as he grabbed Wu Lingkong, and retreated at an astonishing speed. However, he was still hit by this extremely terrifying shockwave, and he could not help but spit out blood. Chen Zong could feel that his internal organs, bones, and muscles were all injured. Fortunately, he reacted in time, and his speed was not slow. Otherwise, it would not be as simple as just being injured, but possibly even being killed. After all, that power was just too tyrannical. The ground shook incessantly, and it lasted for more than 10 breaths of time before it gradually calmed down. When everything was settled, Chen Zong and Wu Lingkong looked at the huge pit that was dozens of meters deep, and their faces changed greatly as they sucked in a breath of cold air. One must know that this was the fierce ancient battlefield, and the pressure was at least twice as heavy as the outside world. This meant that the hardness of the ground here was also twice as much as the outside world, and the heaven and earth origin energy was even thinner. With all these factors, the destruction caused by the same power here was only a fraction of the outside world. Even so, there was still a huge pit that was dozens of meters deep and nearly 10 meters deep. It was a shocking sight. As for the 4 people from the Golden Astral Sect, they were nowhere to be seen. However, Chen Zong still saw some traces on the bodies of the 3 disciples of the Golden Astral Sect. Looking further away, he could see a figure staggering away. It was Yu Xingji who had actually survived under this kind of power. Chapter 1043. Haha. Looking at the huge pit and Yu Xingji who was staggering away, Chen Zong and Wu Lingkong looked at each other, then they both sat on the cracked ground and laughed. However, the two of them only laughed a few times and quickly took out pills from their storage rings to consume. There were healing pills and pills to restore spiritual power. Wu Lingkong even took a pill to alleviate his own sequelae. After all, Wu Lingkong knew that if he were to use the thunderous sky strike while using the lightning battle armor, it would cause an enormous burden on his body. Thus, he had already prepared some medicinal pills, just in case they came in handy. Chen Zong's situation was much better than Wu Lingkong's. Without the burden brought by the 2 secret methods, he only consumed his spirit power, extraordinary secret force, and the power of purple cloud true flame. His dragon force was still there, but after being hit by a tyrannical force, his bones and internal organs were damaged to varying degrees, but with the help of the pills, he began to recover little by little. The 2's luck was good. In a short while, no one else came here. After a while, the 2's injuries were alleviated, their strength also recovered a little, and their complexions were not so pale. The 2 continued to operate their secret methods to refine the pills, recovering their injuries and their own strength, while paying attention to the movements around them. With the gradual recovery of their injuries and strength, the 2's strength was also gradually recovering. In the end, relying on the pills and the self-healing ability brought by his tyrannical physique, Chen Zong's injuries were healed by 80%, and his spirit power was completely restored. His strength was restored to about 90%, and the rest was slowly recovered. Wu Lingkong's situation was a little worse. The burden was too great, plus he was injured and so on. Therefore, although his spirit power and extraordinary secret force were completely restored, his strength was only about 70% of his peak. However, with Wu Lingkong's strength, even with 70% of his strength, he could fight with Yu Xingji in his peak for a while. After recovering part of their strength, the two quickly set off, found the storage rings and spirit weapons of the three golden astral sect disciples, and immediately used their movement skills to leave this place. When the two left for half a quarter of an hour, some people passed by here. Looking at the huge pit and the surrounding cracks, and feeling the residual aura, they all looked dignified. It was clear that there were extremely powerful individuals who had fought intensely here. It was extremely intense. "Brother Chen, this time it's all thanks to you," Wu Lingkong said in a dignified tone, feeling very grateful to Chen Zong. Chen Zong's cultivation was only at the late stage of the transcendent realm, and he cultivated a spirit-grade low-rank secret art. No matter how powerful he was, at best, a transcendent realm cultivator, no matter which disciple of the Golden Astral Sect, he was no match. Under such circumstances, he didn't turn around and leave. Instead, he chose to stay and help him. Wu Lingkong's friends, if not the other, they would be friends. Before the friendship, they were just friends, they were just friends in each other. But now, the friendship between Wu Lingkong and Chen Zong was not ordinary. They completely regarded each other as a friend of life and death. "Now that I think about it, I was impulsive." Chen Zong smiled. He was indeed impulsive, but if he could do it again, maybe he would do the same. "Brother Chen, do you know why those 4 people intercepted me and wanted to kill me?" Wu Lingkong knew that Chen Zong was joking, so he didn't take it to heart and instead asked, "Maybe they took a fancy to something on you." Chen Zong smiled. "Yes, not long ago, I entered a subspace which happened to be an unlimited number of people. Before me, the 3 Golden Astral Sect disciples entered first," Wu Lingkong quickly explained. "An unlimited number of people, as long as you were lucky enough to encounter it, you could enter. The 3 Golden Astral Sect disciples entered only a little earlier than Wu Lingkong, so after Wu Lingkong entered, he naturally competed with them. The only thing in that subspace was Yuan liquid. The so-called Yuan liquid was the name of the liquid formed by the world's Yuan Qi after it reached a certain density. 50 kilograms of Yuan liquid was taken away by Wu Lingkong with his own ability. The 3 Golden Astral Sect disciples naturally didn't agree, so they chased Wu Lingkong all the way out of that subspace. The combined strength of the 3 wasn't weak, unless Wu Lingkong used 2 kinds of third-grade secret arts to defeat them, but the price was not small. Therefore, Wu Lingkong planned to use his own speed to shake them off, then find a place to refine the Yuan liquid to increase his cultivation and strength. But he didn't expect that his luck was bad and he encountered Yu Xingji, who intercepted him and caused a great battle. Fortunately, Chen Zong appeared and helped, otherwise, he would have been killed by Yu Xingji. "Brother Chen, this is 50 kilograms of Yuan liquid." Wu Lingkong took out a black jade bottle. It was the size of a palm and had a unique space inside that could store liquid. "Brother Wu, what do you mean by this? You risked your life to obtain the Yuan liquid." Chen Zong was slightly surprised, but he didn't take the black jade bottle. "If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have survived. No matter how much I had, it would have ended up in someone else's possession." Wu Lingkong solemnly said, "The fiery ancient battlefield is very dangerous. Brother Chen, your cultivation is not enough, you need this Yuan liquid more than I do." Chen Zong stopped in his tracks and stared at Wu Lingkong. Wu Lingkong also stopped in his tracks and stared at Chen Zong. Suddenly, Chen Zong smiled faintly and reached out to receive the black jade bottle, Since it's like this, it would be impolite for me to refuse. Good. Wu Lingkong smiled. He sincerely wanted to give half of the yuan liquid to Chen Zong, not to repay him for saving his life, but to hope that Chen Zong could become strong enough to pass through the fiery ancient battlefield and reach the fiery ancient war city. Chen Zong also understood this point. His cultivation was indeed the shortcoming that limited his strength. In addition to his cultivation, his martial arts were not strong enough. In addition, in terms of extraordinary powers, he estimated that Wu Lingkong couldn't compare with him. After all, when he was talking with Wu Lingkong in the shelter, Wu Lingkong had said that the majority of cultivators only grasped one type of extraordinary power. It was very difficult to grasp two types. Even Wu Lingkong only had one type of extraordinary power. It would be difficult to obtain martial arts in a short time. Even if he obtained a more advanced martial art, he wouldn't have enough time to change it. After all, it would take him at least a few months to catch up with his strength. All that was left was to raise his cultivation base. When his cultivation base increased, his strength would naturally increase as well. Chen Zong subconsciously tightened his grip on the black jade bottle. 25 kilograms of liquefied yuan was extremely important to him right now. As long as he could refine it, his cultivation base would definitely rise greatly, and his strength would also increase significantly. Night is coming again. Let's find a shelter first. Wu Lingkong saw Chen Zong put away the black jade bottle and was relieved. The arrival of night meant that the evil spirits on the battlefield would appear again. For the two, it was not good news, especially now that their strength was not at its peak. After a fierce battle, it took 2 hours for Chen Zong and Wu Lingkong to find an empty shelter. They hurriedly entered it and breathed a sigh of relief. They took out medicinal pills and consumed them to recover their consumed spiritual power. Then, the two took out the storage rings of 3 golden astral sect disciples and took out all the things inside. Generally, there were some yuan stones, medicinal pills, and so on. The most important thing was the scarlet soul crystals, a total of 3. "I'll take one," Chen Zong said very straightforwardly. He only took 1 scarlet soul crystal and gave the other 2 to Wu Lingkong. Firstly, he had several scarlet soul crystals and 1 purple soul crystal. Secondly, Wu Lingkong had given him 50 kilograms of yuan liquid. Of course, it was because he had helped, but if Wu Lingkong was unwilling, Chen Zong would not take the initiative to ask. Okay. Wu Lingkong needed the soul crystals. After entering the upper sect, he would be able to refine and absorb them to strengthen his soul, and then enhance his perception and so on. It was very important. "Brother Chen, I'll guard you. You take the yuan liquid first to raise your cultivation base," Wu Lingkong said. Although his strength had only recovered to 80% of his peak, he was still stronger than Chen Zong. Therefore, it was important for Chen Zong to raise his cultivation base first. Chen Zong didn't refuse. He quickly took out the black jade bottle and opened it. An indescribable rich fragrance instantly suffused the air and wrapped around Chen Zong. His entire body felt comfortable inside and out, as if all his fatigue had been removed. This feeling was truly incomparably wonderful. After taking a big gulp, about half a kilogram, and swallowing it all into his stomach, Chen Zong circulated the clear sky-filling sky art. His 4 spirit wheels spun rapidly, absorbing the yuan liquid converted into spirit energy. Yuan liquid was the liquefied form of world's yuan qi. It was incomparably pure. Once it entered the body, there was almost no need to refine it. It only needed to circulate a large cycle of the secret art, and it would be converted into spirit energy. The effect was excellent and there were no side effects. Chen Zong compared it. The energy contained in 1 kilogram of yuan liquid was almost equivalent to 10 low-grade yuan stones, but in terms of absorption, it was much better than 10 low-grade yuan stones. It was not an exaggeration to say that it was comparable to 20 low-grade yuan stones. Not long after, 1 kilogram of yuan liquid was refined by Chen Zong. His fourth spirit will seem to have grown larger and more solid. Picking up the black jade bottle again, he poured yuan liquid into it and refined it again. His cultivation base gradually increased. Peak Transcendent Realm 4th layer. Gene after gene of yuan liquid entered his stomach. His fourth spirit wheel became more and more solid, gradually reaching the same height as the other 3 spirit wheels. Peak Transcendent Realm 4th layer. In this way, Chen Zong consumed 5 kilograms of yuan liquid. Continuously consuming, refining, and absorbing yuan liquid, the yuan liquid inside the black jade bottle was constantly reduced, while Chen Zong's aura also slowly increased. After a short period of contraction, Chen Zong's cultivation broke through, condensing his 5th spirit wheel. Early Transcendent Realm 5th layer. On the side, Wu Lingkong, who was slowly recovering, smiled, feeling happy for Chen Zong's improvement. Mid-Transcendent Realm 5th layer. Late Transcendent Realm 5th layer. After Chen Zong completely refined and absorbed the 25 kilograms of yuan liquid, his cultivation completely consolidated, reaching the late Transcendent Realm 5th layer. Feeling the powerful strength contained in his body, Chen Zong was overjoyed. Chapter 1044. Congratulations, Brother Chen, Wu Lingkong said sincerely. Reaching the late Transcendent Realm 5th layer was enough to raise Chen Zong's strength to a whole new level. He estimated that if he were to fight any of the 3 Golden Astral Sect disciples one-on-one, he would be able to defeat them. I still have to thank Brother Wu. Chen Zong smiled, shaking his arms as his spirit chi surged and a tyrannical aura spread out. If it weren't for the 50 kilograms of yuan liquid you gave me, I don't know when I would have been able to break through to this level. While the two of them were talking, outside the shelter, a powerful shockwave suddenly swept out in all directions. It was unbelievably strong. The ground was shaking and the sky was exploding. The wind was like a storm, and it shocked Chen Zong and Wu Lingkong. They turned around and saw a scary fire outside the shelter. It was like a wave, and it was very hot. Separated by 1,000 meters, Chen Zong and Wu Lingkong could feel the heat and their expressions became solemn. Especially Chen Zong, who had the purple cloud true flame and the true flame body tempering art. His body's resistance to heat was amazing, but when he felt the heat coming from the outside, Chen Zong knew that if he were to be hit head-on, he would not be able to withstand it. As the wave of fire spread out, one blue evil ghost after another was engulfed and turned to ashes in an instant, not even having the time to struggle. The wave of fire swept out hundreds of meters, forming a huge circle and burning fiercely. Within a radius of several hundred meters, all the evil ghosts on the battlefield were turned to ashes, not even their bones were left behind. This scene shocked Chen Zong and Wu Lingkong even more. Immediately, their pupils shrank to the size of needles as they saw a figure appear in the middle of the wave of fire. Slender and vigorous, with a robe that fluttered in the wind, like a god of fire. Long hair like flames, the figure held a long saber in his right hand, its blade long and narrow, covered in blazing red flames. When this figure walked out of the range of the wave of fire, the raging flames gradually weakened until they were completely extinguished, leaving behind a scorched black area that covered a radius of several hundred meters. The evil spirits that were wandering around the battlefield all gathered towards the center and charged forward without fear of death. Their speed was extremely fast, as if they had gone mad. However, this person's expression was cold and his eyes were indifferent. A wisp of cold light was like cold lightning, and there seemed to be 2 balls of red flames burning in his eyes. Raising his hand, brandishing his saber, every movement was extremely clear. With a loud bang, the red flames on the long saber instantly soared and turned into an astonishing wave that surged out. In an instant, it circled around and engulfed all the evil ghosts on the battlefield, turning them into ashes in an instant. Chen Zong and Wu Lingkong also felt the fluctuation of the aura emitted by this person. 7th layer Transcendent Realm. The gap between the Transcendent Realm 4th layer and 3rd layer was huge, and the gap between the Transcendent Realm 7th layer and 6th layer was also huge. However, the methods displayed by that man were simply too terrifying. Wu Lingkong knew that even if he used his full strength, he would not be able to kill the evil spirits as easily as the other party. He felt as if the other party was strolling leisurely in his own backyard, casually and leisurely. Waving his blade was as easy as plucking flowers. They couldn't be compared at all. They were on two different levels. This person is definitely from the Central Territory, Wu Lingkong whispered, his tone incomparably certain. Because as far as Wu Lingkong knew, even the most outstanding disciple of the Great Heavenly Thunder Sect was only a late-stage Transcendent Realm 6th layer cultivator, and the Great Heavenly Thunder Sect was one of the top forces in the 36 lower territories. In other words, it was impossible for a genius of this level to appear in the 36 lower territories, so there was only one explanation. This person came from the Central Territory and was a genius from one of the Central Territory's great forces. In the Central Territory, 5-star forces were common, 6-star forces were common, and there were also many 7-star forces. There were even some powerful 8-star forces. That kind of power! Chen Zong's eyes blazed. Because his powerful spiritual sense had reached the 9th layer of the Transcendent Realm, Chen Zong's perception was far sharper, allowing him to sense the terrifying power contained in the other party's flames. One was a kind of world energy while the other was a kind of transcendent secret force. It was a kind of world energy flame, and transcendent secret force was also a kind of flame. When a world energy flame fuses with a fire-type transcendent secret force, could it be that they mutually enhance each other? Chen Zong couldn't help thinking, but whether it was true or not, Chen Zong wasn't sure, because although he had the purple cloud true flame, he hadn't comprehended a fire-type transcendent secret force yet, so he couldn't test it out. If he wanted to know, he would have to ask the other party, but seeing the other party's strength and the fact that he didn't know him, there was no guarantee that the other party would directly kill him. Secondly, comprehending a fire-type transcendent secret force on his own was extremely difficult, especially since Chen Zong had already grasped 2 types of transcendent secret forces. If he wanted to comprehend a third type, it would be at least 10 times more difficult than the second. Thirdly, if he entered a great sect, he might be able to read ancient books or ask the elders of the great sects. Casually waving his saber, the astonishing red flames burned the evil ghost into ashes. This person's footsteps were neither fast nor slow, his body covered in raging red flames as he walked towards the shelter step by step. Chen Zong and Wu Lingkong's expressions became even more solemn. What is this person's temperament? Unknown. In the world of cultivators there were all kinds of strange people. Some were indifferent to the outside world, and some were very bloodthirsty. No matter if there was any grudge or not, they would kill if they wanted to. Even though Chen Zong's cultivation base had broken through and his strength had increased, even though Wu Lingkong's strength was not weak, at this moment, the two of them didn't feel the slightest bit at ease. "Brother Chen, let's leave," Wu Lingkong said decisively. The other party's strength was too strong, so tyrannical that even if they worked together, there was no hope of fighting back. If the other party entered the shelter and was safe, that would be the best, but what if not? Leaving their fate to others to choose? No. Wu Lingkong wasn't such a person, and Chen Zong wasn't such a person either. Hearing Wu Lingkong's words, Chen Zong nodded. Although they would be besieged by the evil ghosts on the battlefield if they left now, there were still about 4 hours before the arrival of day. If the two of them cooperated well, they should be able to survive, as long as they didn't encounter the purple cloud evil ghost. Another wave of the sword, flames billowed, covering the sky and the ground, burning hundreds and thousands of blue cloud evil ghosts to ashes again. Every wave of the sword made Chunzong and Wu Lingkong's hearts tremble. Approaching, an invisible pressure came. Suddenly, just when the other party was 100 meters away from the shelter, just as Chunzong and Wu Lingkong were about to leave the shelter, the person's footsteps suddenly stopped, and he quickly turned his head to look to the side, the light in his eyes burning like a raging flame. As if he had found a prey, he took a step forward. In the roar, the person turned into a blazing flame, like a flame sweeping across the ground, and quickly rushed to kill. With the long sword in hand, no evil ghost could resist. The other party's action made Chunzong and Wu Lingkong puzzled, and at the same time, they stopped retreating. Looking in the direction of the person, it was a road paved with flames, constantly spreading forward, and at the end a faint purple light could be seen. Could it be a purple cloud evil ghost? Chunzong couldn't help guessing. This person's cultivation was at the Transcendent Realm's 7th layer, and his strength was terrifying. If he had found a purple cloud evil ghost, he wouldn't have been afraid to hide and would instead hunt it down as prey. After all, killing a purple cloud evil ghost would give him a purple cloud soul crystal. Indeed, this person had found a purple cloud evil ghost and chased after it, resulting in a fierce battle with it. The purple cloud soul crystal was very attractive to him, but at the same time, the purple cloud evil ghost was also very interested in his soul, so the battle was very intense. The battle between the human and the evil ghost became more and more intense, and no other evil ghost could get close within 1,000 meters. This was because the shock waves were simply too terrifying, and anyone who came within 1,000 meters of them would be destroyed. The Central Territory Genius Flames were so powerful that even the Blue Cloud Evil Ghost couldn't resist them, and the Purple Cloud Evil Ghost could also kill it. This battle lasted for nearly an hour before it ended, and in the end, the Central Territory Genius killed the Purple Cloud Evil Ghost and obtained a Purple Cloud Soul Crystal. After killing the Purple Cloud Evil Ghost, the man turned around and quickly returned to the shelter. "Let's go," Chunzong and Wu Lingkong said in unison, leaving the shelter in the opposite direction without hesitation. In another 2 hours or so, the curtain of night would pass away and day would arrive. At that time they would be safe. The Central Territory Genius also saw Chunzong and Wu Lingkong leaving the shelter, but he didn't pay them any attention and directly stepped into the shelter to rest. After all, the battle with the Purple Cloud Evil Ghost had consumed almost all of his strength. As soon as they left the shelter, Chunzong and Wu Lingkong were besieged by the Blue Cloud Evil Ghost, but the two of them weren't weak, so facing the Blue Cloud Evil Ghost was a piece of cake. The two of them didn't plan to kill the Blue Cloud Evil Ghost, they only needed to repel it, so they could save their own strength and survive the next hour without a problem, provided that they didn't encounter the Purple Cloud Evil Ghost. Otherwise, even the weakest Purple Cloud Evil Ghost was a 7th-layer Transcendent Realm cultivator. However, one Purple Cloud Evil Ghost had already appeared, so there shouldn't be a second one. Sure enough, after an hour, the two of them really didn't encounter any Purple Cloud Evil Ghosts, but they did encounter 2 Scarlet Evil Ghosts, both of which were killed by Chunzong. This was because Wu Lingkong didn't have any world energy. World energy was very precious, and Chunzong being able to obtain it was largely due to luck. Since the 2 Scarlet Evil Ghosts were killed by Chunzong, the 2 Scarlet Soul Crystals naturally belonged to Chunzong. Originally, Chunzong planned to give one to Wu Lingkong, but Wu Lingkong resolutely refused. As day arrived, the evil ghosts scattered one after another, and the ghost fire sunk into the ground, falling silent. The two of them looked at each other and breathed a sigh of relief, immediately laughing heartily. Chunzong consumed 25 kilograms of yuan liquid, raising his cultivation from the late 4th-layer Transcendent Realm to the late 5th-layer Transcendent Realm. As for Wu Lingkong, he originally planned to refine the other 25 kilograms of yuan liquid, but unfortunately, a powerful Central Territory Genius had appeared, so Wu Lingkong didn't dare refine it. Brother Wu, do you want to take this opportunity to refine the yuan liquid? I'll stand guard for you, Chen Zong said. If Wu Lingkong refined the yuan liquid, his cultivation would improve further and his strength would also increase. All right. Wu Lingkong didn't refuse, immediately sitting down and swallowing the yuan liquid while Chen Zong stood to the side, standing guard while comprehending the azure cloud shatter. Chapter 1045. A tyrannical aura erupted from Wu Lingkong's body, like the roar of a dragon or the roar of a thunderbolt, causing the ground around him to tremble violently. Wu Lingkong's cultivation began to grow. Late Transcendent Realm 6th Layer. Peak Transcendent Realm 6th Layer. The 50 kilograms of yuan liquefied origin essence that could allow Chen Zong to break through from the late Transcendent Realm 4th Layer to the late Transcendent Realm 5th Layer was only enough to raise Wu Lingkong's cultivation by 2 small realms. However, Wu Lingkong, who had reached the peak of the Transcendent Realm 6th Layer, was much stronger than before. If he encountered Yu Xingji again, he could easily defeat him without using the rumbling thunder heavenly strike. Wu Lingkong's cultivation breakthrough and increase in strength made him slightly excited, but he quickly calmed down and the two of them once again used their movement skills to rush forward. Gradually, they saw several figures a few thousand meters away, all of them heading in the same direction because that was the direction of Ancient War City. When these people saw Chen Zong and Wu Lingkong, they also became vigilant. On this Ancient battlefield, besides companions and acquaintances, anyone could become an enemy. Even if one didn't intend to become enemies with them, the other party might not necessarily think so. Even acquaintances would turn against each other, and even companions would turn against each other. While vigilant against each other, they still maintained a distance of more than 1,000 meters. Even if one of them wanted to attack, they would first have to cross this distance to react. As the number of people they encountered gradually increased, Chen Zong and Wu Lingkong both had a hunch that they would soon arrive at Ancient War City. Suddenly, Chen Zong and Wu Lingkong's figures paused slightly as a chill rose from their spines and rushed straight to their heads, instantly engulfing their bodies. This was an indescribable heat that seemed capable of turning the two of them into ashes. Even if Wu Lingkong's cultivation had increased greatly, he still couldn't help feeling horrified and unable to resist. Moreover, this blazing aura gave Chen Zong and Wu Lingkong a familiar feeling. The two of them glanced at each other and their expressions changed drastically. Quickly turning around, they saw a familiar figure flying over from behind at an astonishing speed. It was none other than the genius suspected to have come from the Central Territory last night, a 7th-layer Transcendent Realm cultivator with incredible strength, especially the terrifying power of his flames, which allowed him to slaughter the evil ghosts on the battlefield as if they were grass. He had even managed to kill a purple nether evil ghost. Under such circumstances, if the other party intended to make a move, Chen Zong and Wu Lingkong would have nowhere to escape. They could only summon their strength and prepare to make a move at any time. They might not be able to defeat him, but they would not sit still and wait for death. That person's speed was extremely fast, and he quickly swept past from not far away. At the same time, he glanced at Chen Zong and Wu Lingkong, and a hint of a smile that was not a smile appeared on his face, but he did not make a move. Chen Zong and Wu Lingkong both heaved a sigh of relief when they saw the other party's figure disappear into the distance. Their backs were slightly drenched in sweat as they bitterly smiled. This was the sense of crisis and invisible oppression brought about by the difference in strength. This feeling was indeed very uncomfortable. There were people who were fast and people who were slow. The fast people took the lead and left in a cloud of dust. The slow people lagged behind and followed step by step. Chen Zong and Wu Lingkong's speed was neither fast nor slow. They were considered above average. Of course, if Wu Lingkong were to go all out, his speed would be above Chen Zong's, but for the sake of Chen Zong, he had limited his speed. Half an hour later, Chen Zong and Wu Lingkong saw the outline of a city. As they gradually approached, both of them were shocked by the sight of the city. It was simple, ancient, and full of the smell of iron and blood. The city walls were 100 meters high and mottled with the passage of time. They were extremely impactful, causing one's soul to shake. A blood-red stone monument towered over the ground. It was 10 meters high and had 4 large black characters engraved on it, simple yet fierce. Just by looking at it, one could feel a kind of iron and blood aura. Ancient War City. Thousands of twists and turns, endless fierce battles. Chen Zong took a deep breath. In front of his eyes, there seemed to be light and shadow revolving around, crisscrossing. His ears were filled with the sounds of battle. It was as if he had returned to the ancient battlefield, feeling the life and death of iron and blood. This feeling only lasted for a moment before Chen Zong woke up. Together with Wu Lingkong, they crossed the 10-meter-tall monument and headed towards the huge open city gate. The city gate looked incomparably thick and heavy, as if it was separated by 2 different worlds. Inside the city gate was a 10-meter-long passage with clear characters engraved on the side. Chen Zong and Wu Lingkong both glanced at it. Those were some of the rules of Ancient War City. One of them was that in Ancient War City, one could not casually attack, injure or kill others. Those who violated the rules would be punished according to the severity of the case. After crossing the 10-meter-long city gate, they officially stepped into Ancient War City. An even more ancient and vicissitude aura greeted them. The street that appeared in front of them was incomparably wide, surpassing any city that Chen Zong had been to. There were many houses on the left and right sides which should be shops. Unfortunately, they had long been abandoned. Perhaps a long time ago there were many people living in this ancient war city. But now, it had been reduced to an empty city. There were other uses for it. Chen Zong, Wu Lingkong and the others were not the first to arrive in Ancient War City. On the contrary, they were in the middle. After entering Ancient War City, they could choose a place to live and wait for the people from the upper district to arrive. As for how long it would take, it was unknown. "Brother Chen, let's find a place to stay first," Wu Lingkong said. Chen Zong nodded. Not long after, the two found an ownerless pavilion to live in. There were many pavilions and houses in Ancient War City. Even if tens of thousands of people lived in it, it would be easy, not to mention a few hundred or 1,000 people. Therefore, no one needed to fight for a place to live and create conflict, unless they were deliberately looking for trouble. Ancient War City, we've finally arrived. 3 dusty figures walked to the red stone tablet that was 10 meters high and stared at the 4 black words on the stone tablet. They were suddenly excited. These 3 people were the disciples of Floating Cloud Palace, Lai Jingyu, Fan Feiyu and Zhuo Tianyun. It seemed that their condition was not very good. Lai Jingyu and Fan Feiyu looked pale and weak. Zhuo Tianyun's condition was even worse. His right arm was missing, and only his left arm was intact. "So what if we're here?" Zhuo Tianyun smiled bitterly, his face full of frustration. He practiced sword with his right hand. It could be said that his strength and sword skills were related to his right hand. Now that his right arm was missing, his strength was greatly reduced, and it was difficult for him to use his sword skills. Perhaps he could use his left hand to hold the sword and use his sword skills, but it could not be compared with his right hand. Therefore, for Zhuo Tianyun, even if he arrived at Ancient War City with a half-crippled body, what could he do? "Junior brother, don't be discouraged. You still have your left arm," Lai Jingyu encouraged. "Moreover, there may be elixirs in the upper sect for limb regeneration." Limb regeneration. Zhuo Tianyun's eyes suddenly lit up. Senior brother Lai is right. The upper region is vast, and the upper sect is powerful. It is far from what our Floating Cloud Palace can compare with. Maybe there really is an elixir for limb regeneration. Fan Feiyu looked and quickly emphasized. Okay. Zhuo Tianyun's heart also had a glimmer of hope. This glimmer of hope reignited his fighting spirit. His tired body seemed to have a new strength, supporting him not to fall. "Let's go. Let's enter the city." Li Jingyu waved his hand in high spirits. In the end, only 3 of the 6 from Floating Cloud Palace arrived at Ancient War City. Zhuo Tianyun had lost an arm, and Li Jingyu and Fan Feiyu had suffered heavy internal injuries. It could be said that they had suffered heavy losses. However, now that they had arrived at Ancient War City, as long as they stepped into the city, they would be safe. Stepping into Ancient War City, Li Jingyu and the other 2 chose an ownerless pavilion to stay in. Then they waited. During this time, they naturally recovered from their injuries and tried to improve their cultivation and strength as much as possible. "I wonder if Chunzong has arrived at Ancient War City?" After settling down, Fan Feiyu suddenly asked. Li Jingyu was silent. He was still brooding about losing to Chunzong and being saved by Chunzong. It was difficult for him to accept it at the moment. With his strength, he should have arrived earlier than us. Zhuo Tianyun continued. "Let's rest first. After resting, we will heal our injuries. After we recover, we will go outside and see the situation." Li Jingyu interrupted the 2, but secretly decided that he must surpass Chunzong. As for the favor of saving his life, he would repay it when he had the chance, but he must defeat Chunzong with his own hands. Fan Feiyu and Zhuo Tianyun both understood Li Jingyu. They looked at each other, but no one said anything. However, they both had a feeling that it was almost impossible for Li Jingyu to surpass Chunzong. Why? Because as a 4-star force, Chunzong was able to defeat Li Jingyu in the dragonization battle. After entering the Ancient War City for a day or 2, his strength far surpassed Li Jingyu's. As time passed, this gap may gradually increase. It would be very difficult to close it. They did not mean to discourage Li Jingyu. Perhaps there would be a miracle? After all, they were now going to enter the upper province and enter a great sect. After entering a great sect, no one could say what would happen in the future. More and more people entered Ancient War City. Another night fell. On the battlefield, ghost fires appeared one after another. Bones flew up and gathered into battlefield evil spirits one after another, and began to wreak havoc on the earth. However, none of the battlefield evil spirits could enter Ancient War City. They were all repelled by an invisible force to protect the safety of the people inside. On the 100-meter-high city wall, many people stood and watched the battlefield evil spirits outside the city. Chunzong and Wu Lingkong were among them. The feeling of looking down from a high place like an outsider was very refreshing. Although they would not be attacked by the battlefield evil spirits inside the shelter, they still had to guard against other people who entered the shelter, so how could they relax inside Ancient War City? Looking around, Chunzong's eyes narrowed as he saw 2 figures constantly breaking through the encirclement of the battlefield evil spirits and approaching Ancient War City. However, there were many battlefield evil spirits, and their strength was limited, so it was very difficult for them to break through. "It's them." Chunzong's eyes narrowed as he recognized the 2 people. At the same time, a joking voice sounded nearby. "Who wants to bet on whether those 2 can enter Ancient War City?" A slightly shrill voice sounded. "What kind of bet?" Suddenly, some people became interested, as if after a tense few days and nights, they suddenly relaxed and wanted to have some fun. Suddenly, Chunzong jumped down from the 100-meter-high city wall and flew out of Ancient War City like a gust of wind. Chapter 1046. Qi Jiutian and Qi Longhai met by accident and approached the Ancient War City under the cover of night. Facing the siege of the evil spirits on the battlefield, they constantly used their own strength, urging the earth flame and earth essence water to kill the evil spirits, but their own strength was also constantly consumed. When the power of the earth mystical fire and earth mystical water was depleted, the 2 of them were only left with spiritual power to fight their enemies. Qi Jiutian had one more trick up his sleeve, which was the dragon power. His body-refining cultivation had also broken through to the dragon power realm, but it was not high, only at the first level of the dragon power realm. However, when the two of them joined hands and got close to the ancient war city and were about to enter its territory, a scarlet light suddenly attacked them from the side. It was as fast as lightning, which made their hearts tremble. They couldn't help but feel frightened. Scarlet Evil Spirit. The scarlet evil spirit was much stronger than the blue evil spirit, and the pressure brought by this scarlet evil spirit made the two's expressions change drastically. Fifth layer transcendent realm. If they were at their peak, with their current strength, they would be able to fight against this scarlet evil spirit, and even win, but unfortunately, at this moment, their strength was less than 30% of their usual strength. Are we going to die here? Whether it was Qi Jiutian or Qi Longhai, their hearts were filled with unwillingness. For several days and nights, after many hardships and dangers, they finally arrived outside the ancient war city. Just a little bit more and they would be able to enter the city, get rid of the danger, and obtain the opportunity to enter the upper territory and enter a great sect. From then on, their strength would advance by leaps and bounds. But now it was just a little bit, but it was going to become the end of the world. In the scarlet evil spirit's eye sockets, scarlet spirit fire burned fiercely, and its sharp claws pierced through the air, aiming for Qi Jiutian and Qi Longhai. Its speed was extremely fast, and its sharp claws tore through the sky, leaving behind sharp claw marks that were shocking to the eye. In the next breath, the pair of sharp claws would tear through the two's bodies, and even if Qi Jiutian had some achievements in body refinement, he wouldn't be able to resist this attack. In the blink of an eye, the two would be torn apart, and die here with despair and unwillingness. The moment the scarlet evil spirit's claws fell, Qi Jiutian and Qi Longhai tried their best to dodge, the unwillingness and despair in their eyes clearly visible. A dazzling blue sword light, carrying a dazzling purple flame, fell from the sky. This sword was unparalleled sharpness. The scarlet evil spirit's bones couldn't resist the attack, and was directly cut evil spirit's bones, and scarlet spirit was covered in purple flames, burning. What are you waiting? A's voice, a voice of Qi Jiutian and Qi Longhai's ears. Chen's hearts Chen's of the world. Calm of Jiutian of life. Was of the Jioza's domain. Of the heavens, and of they's spirits domains. With a wave of his sword, Chen Zong repelled the blue evil spirits. He grabbed the scarlet soul crystal, and quickly put it into his storage ring. With a shake of his arms and a wave of his sleeves, Chen Zong looked like a white crane spreading its wings. Chen Zong's body moved with the wind, and he quickly leaped straight up. When he reached the height of 20 meters, he shook his arms again, and like a crane flapping its wings, Chen Zong's figure rose again. After a few times, Chen Zong returned to the city wall and landed next to Wu Lingkong. A burst of enlightenment emerged. In a short moment, Chen Zong had a deeper understanding of the heavenly crane wind chaser movement technique and achieved a breakthrough. Trance stage. Obtaining a scarlet soul crystal and cultivating the spirit-level middle-rank heavenly crane wind chaser movement technique to the transcendent stage was a double blessing. Chen Zong was overjoyed. As for saving Qi Jiutian and Qi Longhai, it was purely because they were both from the floating clouds territory and he had the ability to save them. If it were the purple nether evil spirits, Chen Zong wouldn't have done so. If I'm not mistaken, what you used just now was a kind of world spirit flame. A slightly sharp voice entered Chen Zong's ears. Chen Zong turned around and saw a thin man with a strange smile on his face, silently approaching him until he was only a few meters away. This man's eyes narrowed slightly as he stared at Chen Zong, as if he wanted to see through Chen Zong, and this kind of scrutinizing gaze was quite unpleasant. What do you want? Chen Zong's expression remained unchanged as he calmly asked, but in his heart, he was on high alert. Because this man gave him a very dangerous feeling. The aura he was exuding was not weak at all, at least at the early stage of the Transcendent Realm. The gap between the Transcendent Realm's 7th layer and the Transcendent Realm's 6th layer was huge, far greater than the gap between the Transcendent Realm's 6th layer and the Transcendent Realm's 5th layer. Even an ordinary Transcendent Realm's 7th layer cultivator was stronger than most Transcendent Realm's 6th layer cultivators. What's more, cultivators who were selected to enter the ancient battlefield were all elites among geniuses, much stronger than ordinary cultivators. Ha ha! The thin young man sneered, a look of ridicule flashing across his face as his eyes flashed a cold light. Just now, I was about to open a gambling house to have some fun, but you ruined it. I'm in a bad mood, and if I'm in a bad mood, someone will suffer. However, as long as you're willing to compensate me, my mood will improve. Then what kind of compensation do you want? Chen Zong suddenly smiled and asked in a neither servile nor overbearing tone. I don't need anything particularly precious. The thin young man's eyes became even sharper, a sharp light like a needle piercing through Chen Zong, a wicked smile appearing on his face. As long as you give me the scarlet soul crystal and the earth flame you just obtained, I'll be in a good mood. Once I'm in a good mood in the future, there will be many benefits for you. Before Chen Zong could answer, Wu Lingkong took a big step forward and stood shoulder to shoulder with Chen Zong, a sneer appearing on his face as he asked, You want to take it by force? This matter has nothing to do with you, don't make a mistake. The thin young man folded his hands behind his back and frowned, staring at Wu Lingkong, a sharp light flashing across his eyes as he spoke in a threatening tone. Chen Zong's matters are my Wu Lingkong's matters. Wu Lingkong said directly. Brother Wu, Chen Zong was taken aback. Wu Lingkong's words had completely offended the other party. Very good. The skinny young man roared furiously, his tyrannical aura bursting forth like a torrential flood, terrifying to the extreme. This was the aura of an early Transcendent Realm 7th layer cultivator who had cultivated a spirit-grade top-rank secret art to a relatively high level, making it incomparably pure. The tyrannical aura suddenly caused Chen Zong and Wu Lingkong's expressions to change. In an instant, the two of them were like small boats in a stormy sea, drifting along with the waves, about to be destroyed at any moment. However, Wu Lingkong's cultivation had already reached the peak of the Transcendent Realm's 6th layer, so he was able to somewhat resist this aura. As for Chen Zong, his experience in Blue Wave's world had forged Chen Zong's incomparably tenacious will, coupled with his powerful soul strength and spiritual sense that had reached the 9th layer of the Transcendent Realm. He was more than capable of resisting this kind of aura. Seeing that the aura that he had activated with all his strength was unable to suppress the two of them, or even make them retreat, the skinny young man's face became extremely ugly. Tyrannical spiritual energy fluctuations surged, and the world's yuan qi gathered from all directions, fluctuating above him. It was as if an ancient giant beast had let out an earth-shattering roar. Layers of black halos appeared on his hands behind his back. Extremely cold fluctuations swept out like a chilly wind, freezing everything in the surroundings and causing people to feel cold all over. His anger soared as more spirit energy mixed with transcendent spirit energy poured into his hands, ready to strike at any moment. Chen Zong and Wu Lingkong both wore dignified expressions as they pushed their strength with all their strength to prevent the other party from suddenly attacking. Senior Brother Mao, don't be angry. A voice sounded from the side, and immediately after, a figure appeared. The overall situation is more important. These words caused the skinny young man with the surname Mao to be slightly startled. Soon after, he suppressed his rising anger, and his powerful energy dissipated. His terrifying aura was also withdrawn. The rules of Ancient War City were clearly written. In Ancient War City, no one was allowed to make a move without permission. A light punishment would be disqualification from entering the upper sect, and a heavy punishment would be execution on the spot. As for how they would be executed on the spot, no one knew, but no one would ignore it. Why did they come here? It was all to enter the upper sect and become a disciple of the upper sect. They wanted to practice more advanced cultivation methods, martial arts, and even secret technique. They even wanted to worship a stronger master and so on to become stronger. If they lost this opportunity because of violating the rules, it would be too impulsive and the loss would outweigh the gain. Consider yourselves lucky. The young man surnamed Mao coldly stared at Chen Zong and Wu Lingkong, his eyes filled with cold killing intent. If looks could kill, perhaps Chen Zong and Wu Lingkong would already be covered in scars. You too, Humph. The person who stopped the young man surnamed Mao also coldly glanced at Chen Zong and Wu Lingkong, his eyes full of threat. I am magnanimous, I will give you one more chance. The young man surnamed Mao suddenly opened his mouth again. His tone was cold and his breath was cold. Give me the scarlet spirit crystal and the earth flame, and kneel down and beg for my forgiveness, then I will let you go. Otherwise, in the future, I will make you beg for death. Let's wait and see. Chen Zong's eyes narrowed and a trace of coldness appeared in his eyes. Then you can try. Wu Lingkong also coldly smiled. His tone was decisive and sharp. The fact that they didn't make a move disappointed those who wanted to watch the show and see what the consequences of violating the rules would be. Filled with suppressed anger, the young man surnamed Mao turned around and left in big strides. Chen Zong and Wu Lingkong stood on the city wall and looked outside. After a while, they also turned around and left. Chen Zong, I will remember your kindness in saving my life. In the future, I will definitely repay you. Qi Jiutian blocked Chen Zong's path and said in a dignified tone. After he finished speaking, he turned around and left in big strides. Brother Chen, I dare not forget your kindness in saving my life. If you have any orders, just say it. I will not hesitate to go through water and tread on fire. Qi Longhai cupped his fists and said solemnly. Don't worry about it, it was nothing. Chen Zong smiled and said. Chapter 1047. Give me a price, I want your earth flame. His eyes were calm, but there was a hint of arrogance in his indifferent tone. A trace of blazing aura surrounded his body, burning everything in its path, making Chen Zong's mouth dry. Chen Zong was meditating in the pavilion when someone came knocking on his door. Surprisingly, it was the powerful genius from the central region who could control flames. Standing in front of him, Chen Zong could feel the pressure emitted by the other party. It was extremely shocking. That day, when he had saved Qi Jiutian and Qi Longhai, he had used the power of Purple Cloud True Flame to kill the Scarlet Evil Ghost. This scene had been seen by others and had immediately made him a target. For example, the thin young man surnamed Mao and the Central Territory genius who could control powerful flames in front of him. Perhaps there were other people who coveted his earth flame. I'm also very interested in your earth flame. Chen Zong stared at the other party fearlessly and said unhurriedly. The other party was indeed very strong, and his aura was also very tyrannical, but it was not enough to shake him. Moreover, should he give in just because the other party was stronger than him? No, when he was weaker than the other party, Chen Zong would choose to escape if he had a chance, but if there was no chance to escape, he would fight with all his strength. He would never compromise. I admire your backbone, but do you really think you can be safe and sound just because of the rules of ancient War City? The other party smiled faintly, and his eyes seemed to spurt out flames, burning Chen Zong to ashes. I'll give you some time to think it over. Next time, give me an accurate answer. Saying so, the other party turned and left. Staring at the other party's back, Chen Zong's sense of urgency grew stronger. Geniuses from the top lower territory were not weak, and some of them could already pose a threat to him. As for geniuses from the central territory, their cultivation and strength were even more terrifying. They were not people he could compete with at present. Thinking about it carefully, Chen Zong was horrified. The thin young man surnamed Mao and the young man who had just controlled the flames were both less than 24 years old, but both of them had already reached the 7th layer of the transcendent realm. If they were in Blue Wave's world, they would be early heavenly profound realm masters. A 20-something-year-old sky profound realm expert, this should have never appeared in Blue Wave's world. No, there was one, and that was Emperor Li Tian. However, Emperor Li Tian was not a normal cultivator, so the situation was different. If the Central Region's geniuses are like this, what about the Upper Region's geniuses? Chen Zong could not help but have a thought. Both the cultivation environment and the succession in the Upper District were better than those in the Middle District. Therefore, the cultivators in the Upper District as a whole would be better than those in the Middle District, with more geniuses and outstanding talent. If someone had told Chen Zong that someone in the Upper Province had reached the 9th layer of the Transcendent Realm before the age of 24, Chen Zong would not have doubted it. Pressure. An unprecedentedly powerful pressure descended upon Chen Zong, causing him to almost be unable to breathe. At the same time, an indescribable fighting spirit emerged from the depths of his heart. Only when there was pressure would there be motivation, and only when there was a goal could one move forward. Returning to his room, Chen Zong began cultivating again. Now that he had entered ancient Lai War City, Chen Zong did not know when the people from the Shang sect would arrive, but he was not in a hurry, because the people from the Shang sect would come sooner or later. So, he would take advantage of this period to improve his cultivation and strength as much as possible. Currently, Chen Zong's cultivation was his shortcoming, but this shortcoming could be slowly made up for with hard work. Another shortcoming was the level of his cultivation method and martial arts, which could not be made up for in a short period of time. He would need more advanced cultivation methods and martial arts. In addition to improving his cultivation as much as possible, Chen Zong also comprehended the Heart Sword Sutra, which was his foundation. In addition, Chen Zong also tried to comprehend the Fire Attribute's Transcendent Secret Force. The comprehension of Transcendent Secret Forces was not based on imagination, but on a corresponding basis. For example, the Heart Sword Force was cultivated through the Heart Change, and the premise was one's essence, chi, and soul. For example, the Azure Cloud Force was comprehended through the Azure Cloud Sky technique. Therefore, Chen Zong wanted to comprehend the Fire Attribute's Transcendent Secret Force, and he used the Purple Cloud True Flame as a primer. Another idea was to comprehend the Fire Attribute's Transcendent Secret Force with the Purple Cloud True Flame as a primer, and perhaps it would be more compatible with the Purple Cloud True Flame. However, as soon as Chen Zong tried to comprehend it, he found that it was very difficult. Perhaps if he had not mastered the Heart Sword Force and the Azure Cloud Force, the difficulty of comprehending the Transcendent Secret Force through the Purple Cloud True Flame would be much lower. However, in the situation where he already had 2 Transcendent Secret Forces, the comprehension of the 3rd Transcendent Secret Force would be affected by the other 2 Transcendent Secret Forces, and he would be heavily hindered. A mountain could not accommodate 2 tigers, and the principle was the same. A Transcendent Secret Force was like a fierce tiger, and its body was like a mountain. If a fierce tiger occupied a mountain, it could not accommodate a second fierce tiger. If other fierce tigers wanted to come to the mountain, it was tantamount to invading, and they would be intercepted. Chen Zong now had 2 Transcendent Secret Forces, and it was like a mountain with 2 fierce tigers occupying it. If a third fierce tiger wanted to enter the mountain, it would inevitably be intercepted and attacked by the other 2 tigers. However, Chen Zong also believed that as long as he continued to work hard, he would definitely be able to comprehend the 3rd Transcendent Secret Force. It was only a matter of time. The door was knocked and a voice came in. "Brother Chen, if you're done cultivating, come and drink. I'll introduce you to my senior and junior brothers." Besides cultivating, Chen Zong did not forget to rest. He drank wine and enjoyed delicious food with Wu Lingkong. In this ancient war city, the restaurants had long been abandoned, so there was no food to be found. However, Chen Zong and Wu Lingkong both had some food in their storage rings, enough for the two of them to eat for a while. After a few breaths of time, Chen Zong opened the door and walked out. This pavilion was neither big nor small. Only Chen Zong and Wu Lingkong lived in it. The place where they drank wine was in the lobby. When Chen Zong and Wu Lingkong arrived, 3 people were sitting at a table in the lobby. Feeling the aura, the 3 turned their heads and looked over. Their gazes passed Wu Lingkong and focused on Chen Zong. Their gazes were curious and also scrutinizing. "Brother Chen, let me introduce you." Wu Lingkong smiled and reached out to a young man with a square face. "He is our great heavenly Thundergate's senior brother Lei Jing. She is 3rd junior sister Jiang Hongling, and he is 4th junior brother Lei Feiming. Senior brother, junior sister, junior brother, this is my sworn friend, Chen Zong." After Wu Lingkong finished introducing his fellow disciples, he introduced Chen Zong to his fellow disciples. The word sworn friend made Wu Lingkong's fellow disciples' faces change slightly. They were all shocked. Chen Zong's expression also changed. He was touched. Sworn friend. This was not a joke. What was a sworn friend? It was a life and death trust. I know junior brother Wu's character very well. To be called a sworn friend by him, you are the first. I wonder where brother Chen is from? Lei Zheng's eyes stared at Chen Zong. There was a trace of lightning in his eyes as he spoke very directly. "Senior brother Lei, I am from the Floating Clouds Territory's Blue Cloud sect." Chen Zong replied in a neither fast nor slow manner. Since Wu Lingkong regarded him as a friend who had gone through life and death, then it was reasonable for him to address his senior brother as senior brother. "I know about the Floating Clouds Territory. It is ranked at the bottom of the 36 lower territories. However, I have never heard of the Blue Cloud sect." Wu Lingkong's 4th junior brother Lei Feiming spoke first. "Could it be that the Floating Clouds Palace has been replaced by the Blue Cloud sect?" "No, the Floating Clouds Palace is still in charge of the Floating Clouds territory. The Blue Cloud sect is only a 4-star force," Chen Zong said with a smile. His tone was neither too high nor too low. He did not feel embarrassed because he was from the Blue Cloud sect. 4-star force. Lei Zheng and the other 2 were startled at first. Then, their faces slightly changed and their eyes changed. "Junior brother Wu, when making friends, you have to pay attention. Don't treat every little thing as a sworn friend." Lei Zheng no longer paid attention to Chen Zong and instead said to Wu Lingkong. The meaning behind his words could be understood as long as one wasn't a fool. Wu Lingkong's face suddenly changed and a cold light flashed across his eyes. "Eldest senior brother is right. 2nd senior brother, I know your character. You have very few friends. Perhaps this person has shown you some kindness, causing you to misunderstand, but think about it carefully. He is just a disciple from a 4-star force in a low-level lower territory. What qualifications does he have?" If Lei Zheng's words were a bit tactful, then Lei Feiming's words were very direct, without any trace of politeness. 4th junior brother, apologize to my friend Chen Zong." Hearing this, Wu Lingkong's face suddenly became cold and his eyes became sharp as he stared at Lei Feiming. In an instant, Lei Feiming felt an indescribable pressure. "2nd senior brother, did I say something wrong?" Lei Feiming was surprised by Wu Lingkong's current cultivation and refuted while resisting. "2nd junior brother, don't stand in the wrong place." Lei Zheng also released his aura which fell on Wu Lingkong's body. Surprisingly, he had also reached the peak of the Transcendent Realm's 6th layer. "Brother Wu, I'll take my leave first." Chen Zong suppressed the anger in his heart and said to Wu Lingkong. The other party was Wu Lingkong's senior brother and junior brother. Chen Zong was not willing to have any conflict with them and put Wu Lingkong in a difficult position. This was something a true friend should take into consideration. However, Chen Zong also had his own principles and bottom line. Insulting and looking down on him was not enough to touch his bottom line. In addition, taking a step back, even if they fought, Chen Zong wasn't confident he could defeat Wu Lingkong, especially Wu Lingkong's senior brother, Lei Jing, who was at the peak of the Transcendent Realm's 6th layer and wasn't any weaker than Wu Lingkong. "Brother Chen, you go back first, I'll look for you later." Wu Lingkong had an apologetic look in his eyes. He had introduced them to each other out of goodwill, hoping that his fellow disciples would get to know Chen Zong and become friends. Unfortunately, things did not develop as he had expected. Lei Jing and the others coldly watched Chen Zong leave, neither urging him to stay nor stopping him. In their opinion, a mere disciple from a low-level lower province's 4-star force was not worth mentioning at all. Faintly, Chen Zong could hear the argument between Wu Lingkong and his senior brother. Chen Zong inhaled a deep breath of air. Soon after, he slowly exhaled. His expression was dark and cold. Such contempt annoyed Chen Zong. Chapter 1048. Junior Marshal Brother Wu, you've always been a maverick in the sect. But if the sect leader knows that you're treating a disciple from a low-level sect in the lower province as a good friend, I'm afraid he'll be very disappointed. Lei Jing coldly stared at Wu Lingkong. His tone was cold, as if he really represented the elders of the great Heavenly Thunder sect. "Take note, Chen Zong is my best friend," Wu Lingkong repeated. He no longer paid attention to Lei Jing and the others. He turned around and strode away. Jiang Hongling, who had been silent all this time, had a complicated expression. Her red lips moved as she was about to call out to Wu Lingkong. However, a tall figure blocked her line of sight. It was Lei Jing. "Junior Marshal Brother Wu, I'll report your matter to the higher-ups." Lei Jing's eyes flashed with a strange light. He immediately said to Wu Lingkong's back. Wu Lingkong ignored him. Just as Lei Jing said, Wu Lingkong had always been a maverick in the great Heavenly Thunder sect. Since that was the case, why would he worry about Lei Jing reporting it? Seeing Wu Lingkong ignoring him, Lei Jing's expression turned cold. He waved his hand and the table shattered. The dishes on it were all crushed into powder. "Let's go," Lei Jing angrily snorted. His tall figure stirred up a gust of wind as he strode away. A trace of helplessness appeared on Jiang Hongling's pretty face. This was the scene she didn't want to see the most. Lei Feiming curled his lips and also left. He had long disliked this second senior martial brother of his. Relying on his talent, he acted alone and didn't put them in his eyes. "Brother Chen, I'm really sorry." Wu Lingkong found Chen Zong with an apologetic face. "No need to take it to heart." Chen Zong faintly smiled. Wu Lingkong had good intentions. However, some people didn't accept his good intentions and thought they were better than others. They looked down on Chen Zong, who came from a humble background. It had nothing to do with Wu Lingkong. Exhaling heavily, Wu Lingkong nodded. Soon after, he waved his hand and took out 2 bottles of fine wine. He handed one bottle to Chen Zong and began to drink it. As they drank, the two of them chatted, exchanging their cultivation experiences and corroborating each other. When night fell, Chen Zong would also stay on the city wall for a while to see if there were any scarlet demons. If there were, and they were not far from the battle, Chen Zong would hunt them down and obtain the scarlet soul crystal. Of course, Chen Zong would be very careful to avoid being targeted. Therefore, Chen Zong would choose a different section of the city wall every time. Ligu War City was huge, and Chen Zong had never encountered any danger. In the blink of an eye, a few days had passed. Chen Zong was cultivating in his room when suddenly, a strong heaven and earth yuan qi swept out from the center of the ancient war city like a gale, sweeping out in all directions. This sudden burst of rich heaven and earth yuan qi shocked Chunzong and everyone else in Lai Gu War City. One by one, they stopped what they were doing and looked towards the place where the heaven and earth yuan qi fluctuations were coming from. At the center of Lai Gu War City, a wave of heaven and earth yuan qi rose into the sky, like a beacon fire, extremely eye-catching. Then, a rumbling sound rang out and the entire war city began to shake. Chunzong rushed out of his room, Wu Lingkong also rushed out of his room. Many cultivators also rushed out of their rooms. Using their movement techniques, they quickly flew towards the source of the fluctuation. The closer they got, the stronger the heaven and earth yuan qi fluctuations became, and the more obvious the ground shook. The yuan qi smoke was at least 10 meters wide, like a white pillar that shot straight into the sky. What is it? Is it some kind of heaven and earth treasure? From several thousand meters away, they stared at the origin energy smoke and guessed what it was. The closer they got, the greater the pressure they felt. The yuan qi smoke suddenly expanded to 100 meters, and a shadow slowly emerged from the ground in the midst of the yuan qi smoke. One could vaguely make out that it was a stone tablet. This stone tablet was huge. The shaking of War City lasted for several dozen breaths, and the impact of the heaven and earth yuan qi also lasted for several dozen breaths before gradually weakening. After about 20 breaths of time, all the shaking stopped, and the astonishing world's origin qi also dissipated. Everyone stared at the stone tablet in front of them with wide eyes. The stone tablet was 30 meters tall and was completely black. It was thick and heavy, and it emitted a cold aura like that of iron and blood. It made people feel cold all over and their limbs go numb as soon as they got close to it. What is that thing? A stone tablet, what is its use? Just as everyone was puzzled, a line of golden text appeared on the black stone tablet, allowing everyone to understand the name and purpose of this stone tablet. Iron Battle Tablet. Its purpose was to test a cultivator's attack power. In other words, if a cultivator attacked the battle tablet would rank the cultivator according to their attack power. There were only 100 spots. There were also some more detailed rules, such as the division of attack power. A battle tablet to test attack power, interesting. Let me try it first. Suddenly, a person leaped up and flew through the air at an astonishing speed, landing in front of the Iron Battle Monument about 10 meters away. Everyone's eyes fell on that person. That person stood still, as if he was thinking about something. After a dozen breaths, he raised his right hand. His palm was like a knife, and his spiritual energy surged. His palm chopped down, turning into a dazzling knife light that slashed towards Taijanbei. The cultivation displayed by this person was at the mid-stage Transcendent Realm's 6th layer, and the seemingly casual saber light contained astonishing power. The moment the dazzling saber light hit the Iron Battle Tablet, it shattered into countless light dots. Then, a line of golden text appeared on the Iron Battle Tablet. High Wind Lower District, Mountain Stream Saber Sect, Heruyan. Attack Power, 7 stars. The text that appeared before the Iron Battle Tablet mentioned the division of attack power according to the stars, but what level 6.5 stars was, no one knew. The person who attacked was slightly startled, but after thinking for a few breaths, he attacked again. This time, he didn't do it casually. Instead, he gathered his strength and grasped the saber at his waist with his right hand. The aura of a mid-stage Transcendent Realm's 6th layer erupted from his body in an instant, and with a shake of his right arm, he unsheathed his saber. Saber light flashed, cutting through water. A dazzling saber light nearly 10 meters long streaked across the sky with astonishing sharpness. Man and saber became one, crossing 10 meters in an instant, and with an indomitable momentum, the saber light fiercely slashed at the Iron Battle Tablet. A dull momentum surged and layers of ripples spread out from the Iron Battle Tablet. The saber light dissipated, and the person who attacked it was sent flying backwards. High Wind Lower District, Mountain Stream Saber Sect, Heruyan. Attack power, 9 stars. A casual attack without using a spirit artifact had a 7-star attack power, while a tyrannical attack with a spirit artifact and martial skill had a 9-star attack power. Comparing the aura and power fluctuations of the person who attacked before and after, the crowd gradually understood the difference between star attack power and attack power. Hiruyan stared at the 2 words 9 stars, seemingly hesitating whether to attack again because the saber strike just now wasn't his full strength. After hesitating for a moment, he temporarily gave up on the idea of attacking again. After Hiruyan left, a line of golden words appeared on the iron battle tablet. Hiruyan, attack power, 9 stars, High Wind Lower District, Mountain Stream Saber Sect. His name and origin of attack power were clear at a glance. Staring at the words on the iron battle tablet, the others were also tempted. Immediately after, a second person leapt out and landed in front of the iron battle tablet, also pausing for a dozen breaths before attacking. Spirit energy surged from this person's body as his aura erupted, the peak of the Transcendent Realm 5th layer. Clenching his fist, it was as if he was squeezing the air, and a dense brown spirit energy instantly filled his fist. Kong. A punch broke through the air, shaking the earth and the mountains. This punch seemed to be able to shatter the iron battle tablet. However, the moment the punch hit the iron battle tablet remained motionless like a mountain. The fist energy was shattered and ripples spread out. The iron battle tablet also showed the person's name and origin. Attack power, 6 stars. The person frowned and was very dissatisfied with his attack power. He stepped back, gathered his strength, and with a roar threw out another punch. This punch looked even more imposing, as if it was even more tyrannical. With a bang, the fist energy was shattered again, and ripples spread out. Attack power, 6 stars. Perhaps the power of this punch was relatively stronger than the previous one, but it was not enough. Therefore, the evaluation was still 6 stars, not 6.5 or 7 stars. The person's name and other information immediately appeared in the second column on the iron battle tablet. Then, a third person went to try, one after another. Chen Zong and Wu Lingkong were not in a hurry, and they watched first. As more and more people took the test, more and more names and information appeared on the iron battle tablet. Not long after, there were more than 20 names. However, the one ranked first was still Hiruyan, with an 8-star attack power. And the more people took the test, the more people understood the star attack power. My attack power should be above 6 stars, reaching 6.5 stars shouldn't be a problem. Chen Zong secretly thought. As for whether it could reach 7 stars, he would have to try it himself to know. Wu Lingkong also estimated his attack power star level. After watching for a while, some people began to leave. Chen Zong and Wu Lingkong also left and returned to their rooms to continue cultivating. The iron battle tablet had just appeared, and there were many people who were interested in it. Each of them wanted to take the test. Instead of waiting, it was better to wait for a period of time and let most people take the test. Moreover, Chen Zong, Wu Lingkong, and some others were not willing to show their skills in front of everyone. As night fell, the number of people taking the test gradually decreased until there was no one left. After all, there were only a total of 800 people who arrived at Ancient War City this time. Deep in the night, a figure streaked across the night sky at an astonishing speed, flashing a red light and landing in front of the iron battle tablet. If Chen Zong and Wu Lingkong saw it, they would realize that this person was the Central Region genius who used the powerful flame. His eyes seemed to be burning with red flames as he stared at the pitch-black iron battle tablet. He felt the cold aura spread in all directions, and the corner of his mouth curled up, showing a disdainful smile. Chapter 1049. Brother Chen, how about we also take the test? Late at night, Wu Lingkong's voice came from outside the door. Good. Chen Zong opened the door and walked out. The two immediately used their movement skills and quickly flew towards the center of War City. When Chen Zong and Wu Lingkong approached, they saw a wisp of blazing flames flickering past, and then it was extinguished. When the two of them arrived, there was no one there, and only the remnant fluctuations of a blazing aura proved that not long ago, someone had come here to test their offensive strength. Brother Chen, look. Wu Lingkong pointed to the top of the iron battle steel and said solemnly. Chen Zong also looked up and his pupils shrank. The first column on the iron battle steel was no longer He Ruian's name, but a brand new one. Lu Yenji. Attack power 13 stars. Heavy Nether Central Territory 6-star force, Bright Flame Palace Lu Yenji. Chen Zong and Wu Lingkong exchanged a glance and combined the remnant heat fluctuations. A figure appeared in their minds at the same time. It's him. Chen Zong was somewhat certain that this was the person who had asked him to sell the Purple Cloud True Flame, the terrifying early-stage Transcendent Realm's 7th-layer genius. The other party's attack power had actually reached 13 stars, which was undoubtedly astonishing. However, what surprised Chen Zong and Wu Lingkong was that this person actually came from a 6-star force, not a 7-star force like they had guessed. In fact, this was something that Chen Zong and Wu Lingkong did not understand. Although there were no clear rules in the Upper Territory's Great Sects, the Central Territory's 7-star forces did not allow their disciples to enter the blazing ancient battlefield and participate in the selection. Because in any case, a 7-star force had already entered the ranks of great sects and had its own dignity and face. If their disciples participated in the selection, where would they place their own sect? Perhaps a 7-star force in the Upper Territory was stronger than a 7-star force in the Central Territory, but in any case, they were still 7-star forces. Therefore, even if someone from the 12 Middle Territories entered the blazing ancient battlefield to participate, the strongest would only be a 6-star force's disciple. However, there was a clear difference between the 6-star forces of the Central Region and the 6-star forces of the Lower Region. The Central Region's cultivation environment was better, and other factors made the 6-star forces of the Central Region stronger than the 6-star forces of the Lower Region. For example, the Great Heavenly Thunder Sect, which was one of the top 6-star forces in the 36 lower regions, could only be considered average in the 12 middle regions. There were many forces that were stronger than it. However, the difference between a 6-star force and a 7-star force was very obvious. This Lu Yenji was so tyrannical, yet he came from a 6-star force. This made Chen Zong and Wu Lingkong feel even more pressure. Brother Chen, I'll go first. Wu Lingkong took a deep breath as a strand of fighting spirit surged out from within his heart and rose in high spirits. Chen Zong retreated, leaving enough space for Wu Lingkong. Wu Lingkong stared at the steel battle monument. The dark night was unable to cover it. His right hand landed on the saber hilt as his aura spread out. The 6 spiritual wheels in his body revolved, and a shocking amount of spiritual energy and extraordinary mystic power gushed out. With a swish, a black saber light tore through the night and slashed at the steel battle monument at an astonishing speed. A light and dull sound rang out as the black saber light shattered and blended into the night. With a flash of golden light, words appeared. The attack power of Wu Lingkong's saber had reached the 8-star level. An 8-star level attack was inferior to He Ruian's. One had to know that Wu Lingkong's cultivation was at the peak of the Transcendent Realm's 6th layer, which was even higher than He Ruian's. However, the saber attack just now was just a test. Wu Lingkong's true strength would be revealed next. With a loud bang, an extremely tyrannical aura burst out from Wu Lingkong's body. His 6 spiritual wheels pushed to their full strength as his spiritual energy surged out without reservation. Black lightning directly covered the long saber, and a terrifying aura spread out in all directions, causing Chen Zong's expression to change slightly. Heavenly Thunder Slash! Holding the saber with both hands, Wu Lingkong erupted with all his strength. Accompanied by a deep roar, his aura became even more astonishing as he slashed out. The black lightning was even darker than the night sky, tearing the night sky apart with unparalleled speed. With a loud bang, a dull sound wave rolled out, mixed with layers of ripples, wreaking havoc in all directions. Even so, the steel battle monument remained motionless, as majestic as a mountain, as if it had merged with the entire ancient war city. With a flash of golden light, words appeared. Attack power, 10 stars. 10 stars, one more than Heruyan, but the difference of 1 star was very obvious. In fact, a difference of half a star was quite obvious, let alone a difference of 1 star. Having personally fought twice, Wu Lingkong was even more aware of the difference between each star level. Therefore, when he saw Lu Yenji's attack power of 13 stars, he felt an indescribable pressure, almost suffocating him. With a difference of 3 stars, Lu Yenji could easily kill him. However, Wu Lingkong did not feel discouraged because of this. On the contrary, his heart was aroused with an even stronger fighting spirit. There were more geniuses among geniuses, and more powerful among the powerful. No one was truly invincible. Everything was relative. Only by sticking to one's heart and working hard could one continuously surpass and finally reach the peak. Calming down, Wu Lingkong retreated to one side, giving Chen Zong the space. Chen Zong stepped out, stopping about 10 meters away from the steel battle monument. His eyes stared at the monument. Suddenly, Chen Zong felt that there seemed to be some kind of connection between him and the steel battle monument. Vaguely, there was a thought reminding him to report his name, origin, and other information. Chen Zong did not open his mouth, but reported his name and origin with his thoughts. After reporting, another thought came, asking Chen Zong to make a move to test his attack power. Without drawing his sword, he only used his fingers as a sword to slash. A green sword light tore through the night sky, striking the steel battle monument. The sword light shattered and the golden words appeared. 5 stars. Chen Zong frowned slightly, but soon relaxed. He did not draw his sword, nor did he use all of his spiritual power. He only used most of his spiritual power, so 5 stars was normal. Then, Chen Zong pulled out his sword, and the 5 spiritual wheels in his body revolved at full speed. The azure cloud power mixed with his spiritual chi was completely mobilized, and 100% burst out, surging into the profound light sword. The profound light sword's power was completely aroused. The azure cloud force filled the sky, and the green sword light pierced through the air, striking the steel battle monument again. The sword light shattered. Attack power, 6 stars. Azure cloud absolution. Chen Zong attacked for the 3rd time, and this time, his sword was even more powerful. Attack power, 6.5 stars. Half-star improvement. Chen Zong muttered to himself. Comparing. An attack that used 70% of the azure cloud force was 5 stars, while an attack that used the dark light sword and 100% of the azure cloud force was 6 stars. The attack power of the azure cloud absolution was 6.5 stars. Chen Zong calculated in his mind. However, 6.5 stars was not Chen Zong's maximum attack power. He attacked again, and this time, Chen Zong changed the azure cloud force to the heart sword force. The heart sword force was much stronger than the azure cloud force. First strike, azure cloud absolution. This sword strike was faster and stronger. The sword light dispersed and the golden words appeared again. Attack power, 6.5 stars. Chen Zong frowned slightly. He was sure that the power of this strike was stronger than the previous one, but it was still judged as 6.5 stars. In other words, as long as it was not 7 stars, it would be judged as 6.5 stars. It did not matter if it was 6.5 stars or very close to 7 stars. There were already 100 names on the steel battle monument. Wu Lingkong's 10 stars was ranked second, and the first was naturally the 13 stars Lu Yenji. He Ruyan was pushed to the third place. As for the last place, his attack power was 7 stars. In other words, Chunzong's 6.5 stars was not even on the list. Although he was not sure what the purpose of the steel battle monument was, he guessed that it was not just a test of attack power. Perhaps it was also a method of identification by the upper district's sections. Therefore, being in the top 100 of the steel battle monument might be beneficial. With that thought, Chunzong prepared to attack with all his might. 100% spiritual energy. Azure Cloud Force. Heart Sword Force. 100% Dragon Energy. Dark Light Sword Force. It could be said that other than the power of the Purple Cloud True Flame, Chunzong used all of his power. Furthermore, this sword was directly slashed out, approaching the Iron Battle Tablet, and using close-range combat methods to attack the Iron Battle Tablet. Only in close combat could part of the Dragon Energy's power be unleashed, and the power of his strike would be even stronger. This strike caused Wu Lingkong to squint his eyes, and he was surprised. The sword light dispersed, and a strong rebounding force caused the dark light sword to tremble. Wu Lingkong was also sent flying for more than 10 meters. Golden words appeared. Attack power, 7.5 stars. 7.5 stars. Chunzong narrowed his eyes slightly. If combined with the power of the Purple Cloud True Flame, it should be able to reach 8 stars. One had to know that Chunzong's cultivation was only at the late stage of the transcendent 5th layer, and his secret art was only at the spirit grade low rank, while his martial arts were only at the spirit grade mid-rank. Whether it was his cultivation, secret art, or martial art, in everyone's opinion, he was at the bottom of the middle class. After all, even the weakest disciple from the 36 lower and 12 middle fields was at least 5 stars. Only Chunzong had a 4-star background. A 4-star forces disciple who cultivated a spirit-grade low-rank secret art and martial art was only at the late stage of the transcendent 5th layer, yet he could display an attack power of 7.5 stars. What if he cultivated a spirit-grade high-rank secret art and martial art? What if his cultivation was at the transcendent 6th layer? Wu Lingkong thought about it carefully and felt a chill run down his spine. If that was the case, Chunzong's attack power would not be a problem for him to reach 10 stars, perhaps even surpassing his own. A 7.5-star attack power caused Chunzong's name to flicker and appear on the Iron Battle Steel, ranking 87. As for the name at the bottom, it was pushed out and disappeared. However, there were still some people who had not participated in the test, and even those who had participated in the test, whether they had used their full strength or not was still unknown. But since his name was already on the Iron Battle Steel, Chunzong decided to leave it at that for the time being. If the attack power of the Purple Cloud True Flame is expected to reach 8 stars, then what if I use the Blue Cloud Shatter? Chunzong suddenly had a thought. Suddenly, Chunzong had an impulse to try and see how many stars the attack power of the Blue Cloud Shatter could reach, but soon, he suppressed this impulse. Chapter 1050. The appearance of the Iron Battle Tablet made everyone feel curious, especially the division of attack power. It was even more interesting. The first day had the most people testing their attack power. Late at night, there were only a few people testing their attack power, such as Lu Yenji, Wu Lingkong, and Chunzong. The night passed, and the day arrived. More people came to the Iron Battle Tablet to prepare for the test. Before the test, they looked at the 100 names on the Iron Battle Tablet to see if there were any changes compared to yesterday. Lu Yenji, attack power of 13 stars. One by one, they stared at the top of the Iron Battle Tablet and exclaimed. 13-star attack power was undoubtedly very strong, and it was frightening. After the shock, everyone's gaze fell on the second name, Wu Lingkong, attack power of 10 stars. 10 stars! Lei Zheng's eyes hardened as he laughed coldly. What is that? Suddenly, someone shouted. His voice was filled with shock. Instantly, everyone's gazes swept across and landed on a list of names. Lei Zheng, Lei Feiming, and the others also looked at the name. Their pupils shrunk, and their faces were filled with disbelief. Chunzong, attack power of 7.5 stars, floating cloud lower regions 4-star force, blue cloud sect. How is this possible? Impossible. How can a 4-star force's disciple come here? I can't believe it. Floating cloud region is the weakest among the 36 lower regions. I only know of floating cloud palace. What is blue cloud sect? I have never heard of it. It's fake, it must be fake. Those who have tested the iron battle tablet know that before the test, they have to leave their own information. This person called Chun Zong must have lied about his background to please the crowd. No one believed that a 4-star force's disciple from a low-level lower region could pass through the ancient battlefield and enter the ancient war city. No one believed that he could leave his name on the iron battle tablet. Attack power of 7.5 stars had surpassed many people, and they were all from 5-star forces. It's true. Facing the doubts of the crowd, a roar sounded, and everyone's gaze was attracted. In an instant, Qi Jiutian felt his body sink. It was as if there was a great weight pressing down on him, trying to crush him to death. In the floating clouds territory, his cultivation was considered very good, enough to be ranked among the elders of the sect. However, in this place, such a cultivation was nothing at all. It was too ordinary, and there were many people who were stronger than him. Chunzong is indeed from a 4-star sect, blue cloud sect. Under the invisible pressure, Qi Jiutian braced himself and emphasized. What proof do you have? A transcendent realm 5th layer sneered. My name is Qi Jiutian, red dragon sect, Qi Jiutian said confidently. My name is Qi Longhai, from floating cloud regions 5-star force, myriad water temple. I also testify that Chunzong is indeed from the 4-star force, blue cloud sect. Qi Longhai stepped out from the other side and said loudly. My name is Zhua Tianyun, a disciple of floating cloud regions 6-star force, floating cloud palace. I also testify that Chunzong is from blue cloud sect, and blue cloud sect is a 4-star force. Another one-armed man stepped out and said in a firm tone. My name is Fan Feiyu, a disciple of floating cloud regions 6-star force, floating cloud palace. I also testify. Lai Jingyu, a disciple of floating cloud regions 6-star force, floating cloud palace. Chunzong is indeed from blue cloud sect. One proof after another, everyone couldn't help but believe. However, there were still some people who didn't believe it. After all, it was too shocking, or perhaps they already believed it but were unwilling to admit it. In any case, Chunzong's name left a deep impression on everyone. It wasn't that this name was special, but the difference between his background and the attack power he displayed was too great. Get out of my way! A tyrannical and overbearing voice rang out. Following that, a terrifying aura rushed over like a violent dragon. It was extremely powerful, causing everyone's expression to change drastically. They only felt that their bodies were directly impacted, and they could not resist it and were forced to retreat to the left and right. A figure exuding an astonishing aura, red with a tinge of gold, appeared, exuding an astonishing domineering aura. In the blink of an eye, this figure appeared in front of the iron battle steel, about 10 meters away, stopping for a dozen breaths of time. Those who had tested the iron battle steel before knew that this person was communicating with it and leaving a message. After the communication was completed, this person immediately erupted with an extremely shocking aura, causing the expressions of everyone in the surroundings to change greatly. They only felt that the aura was like a landslide, crushing down and suffocating them. It was as if their bodies were being suppressed by an invisible mountain, making it difficult for them to move. 7th Layer Transcendent Realm. Peak. Everyone was inexplicably horrified. This kind of cultivation made everyone feel despair. An extremely tyrannical aura soared into the sky like a raging storm. Immediately afterwards, this person waved his right hand and a ball of lightning shot out, like a bolt of lightning streaking across the sky, releasing a burst of ear-piercing crackling sounds as a terrifying aura spread out. This was a weapon with a somewhat strange appearance, resembling a sword yet not a sword, or a saber yet not a saber, or rather, it looked like a sharp sword or a straight saber. A Grade 5 spirit artifact. Some of the more knowledgeable people stared at this long saber in shock. Spirit artifacts were divided into 9 grades, with Grade 1 being the lowest and Grade 9 being the highest. In the 36 lower territories, Grade 4 spirit artifacts were considered very high-grade spirit artifacts, not to mention Grade 5 spirit artifacts. Even in the 12 middle territories, Grade 5 spirit artifacts were definitely not bad and had a very high value. With a Grade 5 spirit artifact in hand and a tyrannical peak 7th layer transcendent realm cultivation, this person's aura became even more powerful and astonishing. Soon after, bolts of golden lightning appeared from within his body. The crackling sounds were incomparably dazzling, and the light was also incomparably dazzling. World Force. A peak 7th layer transcendent realm cultivator, a Grade 5 spirit artifact, and a master of world force, no matter which one it was a shocking sight to behold, and for all three to appear on the same person was even more shocking. Absolute lightning. Mountain-splitting style. His voice was vast and mighty, like the roar of heavenly thunder, causing one's blood and spirit wheels to tremble. All the strength in this person's body surged like a violent tide, pouring into the long saber in a strange way. Lida slashed out with his saber, tearing the void apart. Slash. The golden lightning saber light was incomparably dazzling, seemingly shattering the void in front of it, giving everyone a feeling that this saber strike could shatter the iron battle monument. In front of this saber strike, no one present could resist. Even the slightest contact would result in their death, and even the slightest ripple would cause them to shatter. Terrifying beyond compare. Everyone also stared with wide eyes, waiting to see how this saber strike would turn out. With a boom, the iron battle monument did not move at all. The blade light shattered and turned into layers of shocking lightning waves that rolled out. When it swept past the crowd, it made their bodies feel heavy and numb, as if they were being torn apart. Golden light appeared on the iron battle monument, and large words appeared. Thousand Thunder Mid-Region Rogue Cultivator, Lu Ijue Attack Power. 15 stars. The last 3 words simply blinded everyone's eyes, and they couldn't believe it. 15 stars. 15 stars. Lu Ijue stared at the golden words and suddenly burst into laughter, incomparably arrogant. A rogue cultivator. How is this possible? The shock was even greater than when they saw Chern Zong's news. The Thousand Thunder Mid-Region was one of the 12 mid-regions, and there was nothing strange about that. What was strange and shocking was the other party's background. A rogue cultivator. What was a rogue cultivator? Cultivators who didn't join any force were called rogue cultivators. One of the advantages of rogue cultivators was freedom. They could go wherever they wanted and do whatever they wanted without being bound by the rules of a force. But this was only in theory. Many times, rogue cultivators couldn't go anywhere and do whatever they wanted because they didn't have enough strength. The vast majority of cultivators didn't want to be rogue cultivators, because rogue cultivators meant that cultivation resources were scarce, secret arts and martial arts were inferior, and they didn't even have any secret technique. In short, compared to the people of a force, rogue cultivators were a group of struggling cultivators at the bottom. Of course, this wasn't absolute. There were some rogue cultivators who were doing well, but they were only a minority, a very small portion. A peak 7th layer transcendent realm cultivator with a 5th grade spirit artifact and a world force, Some people would believe that he was a rogue cultivator, but if the premise was that he was less than 24 years old, it was unbelievable. Why is it impossible? I am a rogue cultivator. As if hearing the doubts of the crowd, Lu Ijue coldly said, and while his tone was cold, it seemed to contain a trace of pride. Lu Ijue, you traitor, you shameless traitor! A voice filled with anger rang out like a cold wind, causing everyone to tremble uncontrollably as a chill assaulted their bodies. When Lu Ijue heard this voice, his originally wild smile suddenly froze and his expression changed greatly. A tall figure wearing a light blue silk robe and carrying a sword on her back appeared in front of everyone. She strode over, her long hair fluttering behind her head. Her delicate white jade-like face was covered with frost, and under her long and curved eyelashes, her bright and beautiful eyes were like flawless gems, filled with anger. A terrifying aura surrounded her, creating an extremely strong pressure that made people involuntarily retreat. Senior sister, you really don't want to give up chasing me. Have you really fallen in love with me? Lu Ijue said frivolously. Lu Ijue, you betrayed your sect and attacked your fellow disciples. I won't let you off. The woman glared at Lu Ijue, but a trace of sadness flashed in her eyes. Senior sister Yunyenshin, I'm right here. Come on, make your move. Lu Ijue opened his hands, tilted his head, and said frivolously, making Yunyenshin so angry that she almost broke her silver teeth. Not making a move? You don't dare to make a move. Since that's the case, I'm leaving. Lu Ijue smiled and retreated a few steps under Yunyenshin's angry eyes. He turned around and left, leaving behind an arrogant back view. Yunyenshin glared at Lu Ijue's arrogant back view. She resisted the urge to draw her sword and gradually calmed down the anger in her heart. It's not that she didn't dare, but that she couldn't. Lu Ijue was very strong, and Yunyenshin didn't have much confidence in killing him. Once she made a move here, the consequences would be unpredictable. Wait for a better opportunity. Yunyenshin stared at the iron battle monument. After a dozen breaths, the anger that she had just suppressed surged out in an instant. A tyrannical aura surged, cutting the surroundings like wind blade. She unsheathed her long sword, and a touch of green light that looked like it was made of divine gold instantly slashed out. In an instant, a green sword light tore through the sky and condensed into a sword light that was more than 10 meters long, directly slashing at the iron battle monument. 1000 Thunder Central Regions, 7-star power, Yunyenshin of Thunderwind Sect. Chapter 1051. Lu Ijue, Attack, 15 stars. 1000 Thunder Mid-Regions Loose Cultivator Yunyenshin, Attack, 15 stars. 1000 Thunder Mid-Regions 7-star Faction, Great Wind and Thunder Sect. These two names left a deep impression in everyone's mind, as if they were branded unforgettable. However, everyone knew that Lu Ijue wasn't really a loose cultivator. He was originally a disciple of the Great Wind and Thunder Sect, but for some unknown reason, he betrayed the sect and became a loose cultivator now. The names on the iron battle steel changed every day, but after the first two names appeared, there was no change, unshakable. Lu Yenji fell to the 5th place, and the 3rd place was occupied by a female cultivator called Xia Shui. She came from the Sunset Snow Mid-Region, one of the 12 Middle Regions, and was a disciple of a peak 6-star faction, Shuangjue Valley. Her body refinement cultivation was astonishing, and she was an expert in fist and leg technique. Her attack power had reached an astonishing 14 stars. The 4th place was occupied by a male cultivator called Chui Mo. He came from the Heavenly Wings Mid-Region, one of the 12 Middle Regions, and was a disciple of a peak 6-star faction, 1000-Year Dragon City. He was also an expert in fist techniques and possessed an extraordinary bloodline. His attack power was 13.5 stars. The 5th place was Lu Yenji. As for the 6th place, his attack power was also 13 stars. It could be said that the top 10 had at least 12 stars in attack power. The attack power of the 11th to 20th place ranged from 10 stars to 12 stars. Wu Lingkong's 10 stars attack power was pushed back again, and finally fell to the 23rd place. Wu Lingkong, who was at the peak of the 6th layer, was ranked 23rd in attack power, which undoubtedly surprised Chen Zong. He thought that he would at least be in the top 20. Wu Lingkong was also surprised, but he was also very excited. Wu Lingkong's senior brother, Lei Zheng, was ranked 26th, but his attack power was also 10 stars. Although they were all in the same star rank, there was still a difference between high and low. It was just that there was no specific indication. It could be that one had just reached 10 stars, or it could be close to 10.5 stars. The changes on the iron battle steel caused Chen Zong's name to be squeezed out after a few days. Because now, the 100th place at the bottom had an attack power of 8 stars. Furthermore, if one were to look carefully, one would discover that 70% of the 100 names on the iron battle steel were occupied by people from the 12 middle regions. The remaining 30% were practically all from the 36 lower regions that were comparatively stronger. Those cultivators who were ranked in the middle or lower in the 36 lower districts were not qualified to be on the list at all. Of course, for the sake of being able to enter the rankings, many people had already gone all out. In fact, they had even completely used their secret techniques in order to obtain the qualifications to enter the rankings. However, there were also people who were unable to enter the top 100 even after using their secret technique. Secret method. Chen Zong fell into deep thought. Secret techniques could be said to be one of his shortcomings. Chen Zong had tested the power of the second-grade secret technique, Clear Sky Shattering Sword Qi, on the Iron Battle Tablet. Its attack power had reached the 6-star level. Without a powerful secret technique to enhance his strength, his cultivation was only at the late stage of the Transcendent Realm, and his cultivation was only at the spirit-grade low-rank Clear Sky Filling Art. Even if he cultivated this secret technique to the highest level, he wouldn't be able to do much. As for his most powerful sword art, it was the Azure Cloud Sky sword art that he had upgraded to the spirit level midgrade, but it was also very limited. This was a kind of helplessness. Chen Zong firmly believed that in terms of talent, he was definitely not inferior to most of the people on the Iron Battle Tablet. In fact, he might even be comparable to the top 10, but unfortunately, his background was far inferior to theirs. His secret arts, martial arts, secret techniques, and other resources could not compare to theirs. No matter how good one's talent was, if one did not have a high enough level of secret arts and martial arts, it would be difficult to develop. Good talent and good secret arts and martial arts were two sides of the same coin. For example, if you gave a chef with extraordinary culinary skills a few strands of wild grass, would you expect him to cook some exotic delicacies? High sect. These two words took root and grew in Chen Zong's heart. The high sect was an opportunity for him to further improve his cultivation by leaps and bounds. Pressure would be transformed into motivation, and in an invisible way, Chen Zong's cultivation seemed to have sped up. Every time night fell, Chen Zong would find another city wall to see if there were any scarlet evil spirits, and then decide whether to hunt them down. During this time, Chen Zong would also go to the Iron Battle Tablet in the middle of the night, and use the power of the Purple Cloud True Flame to attack. Unfortunately, he still did not make it onto the Iron Battle Tablet. Perhaps he had just reached the level of 8-star, and was not even the 100th on the Iron Battle Tablet. In a flash, time flew, and a month had passed since Chen Zong entered Lai Gu War City. In the room, the purple flame spread all over his body, burning fiercely, and the surrounding air seemed to be ignited as well. The shockingly high temperature filled the entire spacious room, causing the wooden walls, windows, and wooden doors to become even drier. There was a faint trace of blackness spreading, as if it would burn at any time. The purple flame suddenly trembled, as if it had become even more blazing, and Chen Zong's aura also became stronger. Peak Level 3 Dragon Power Realm. Compared to a month ago, he had improved by a small level, but this small improvement did not increase Chen Zong's strength by much. Everyone in Lai Gu War City, now, gather at the Iron Battle Tablet. Chen Zong didn't even have the time to carefully feel his enhanced body refinement cultivation when a vigorous voice seemed to ring directly in his ear. However, it didn't bring any negative influence to people, such as disturbing people who were cultivating. It was like waking up naturally from a sleep, and it was enough to show that the person who spoke was skilled. Could it be? Chen Zong's eyes flashed with a trace of light, and there was a trace of indescribable excitement. Rushing out of the door, he instantly met up with Wu Lingkong, and immediately used his movement technique, and quickly rushed towards the Iron Battle Tablet. More than 800 people, each and every one of them was very fast, not willing to be left behind, because everyone guessed one thing, and they all felt excited from the bottom of their hearts. When more than 800 people all gathered around the Iron Battle Tablet, at a glance, it was also a black mass, and waves of tyrannical aura spread out from everyone's body, stirring up the wind and clouds. However, other than these people, there was no one else to be seen, and that was the person who spoke for everyone to gather. A blazing gaze fell on him, as if wanting to burn him to ashes, and at the same time, a gloomy gaze fell on him, as if wanting to freeze him. Chen Zong did not need to turn his head, and he knew who was staring at him. One of them was Lu Yenji. Previously, he had asked Chen Zong to set a price for the Purple Cloud True Flame, but Chen Zong had rejected him. After that, Lu Yenji had come looking for Chen Zong again. He had threatened Chen Zong, but Chen Zong had still rejected him. The other was a genius from a 6-star force in the central region, the young man surnamed Mao Yiming, who directly asked him to give up the Purple Cloud True Flame and Scarlet Soul Crystal. After being rejected by Chen Zong, these two people naturally bore a grudge against Chen Zong. A sudden change occurred. A few hundred meters above the Iron Battle Tablet, a buzzing sound shook the heavens and earth, causing everyone to tremble. Looking up, they saw a dot of white light appear, and it was expanding at an alarming speed. In the blink of an eye, the white light expanded to 10 meters in radius, and it still did not stop. 20 meters, 30 meters, 40 meters, 100 meters. It did not stop until it had expanded to 100 meters, and the edges were constantly rotating like a saw. A powerful aura gradually spread out from the 100-meter white light. It was an extremely pure and vigorous chi of heaven and earth, and it made everyone excited. Such pure and vigorous chi of heaven and earth, the upper region. That side is definitely connected to the upper region. The geniuses in the central region kept exclaiming. Are the people from the upper sex finally coming? 10 figures gradually appeared from the white light. They seemed to be moving slowly, but in fact they were descending so quickly that it was hard for people to see their figures clearly, and they had already landed on the ground. The 100-meter white light was still there, and it was constantly rotating, but the rotation speed had decreased a lot, and no other figures appeared. 10 completely different figures hovered in the air, scattered in the surroundings. Every single one of them emanated waves of extremely mysterious fluctuations that drew everyone over. Hong Long Long, Lai Gu War City shook, only to see the 10 figures standing in the air below. The ground split open, the buildings also rose up, the ground under the people's feet also seemed to be arranged, one after another moved towards the center. It was as if the sea had turned into mulberry fields. In just a few dozen breaths, everything in front of them changed drastically. 10 palaces of different shapes appeared in the surroundings, and the 10 people hovering in the air descended together, standing on the high platform in front of the palaces. In the middle of the 10 palaces was a circular platform that was 1,000 meters wide. A stone tablet rose in front of each palace, and 3 of them were 9 meters tall, while the other 7 were 8 meters tall. 5 Ultimate Sky Palace. Tai Yin Mountain. Mysterious Sky Ancient Palace. The 3 9-meter-tall stone tablets were engraved with words, and they were emitting different mysterious auras. For example, the words 5 Ultimate Sky Palace were emitting 5 different auras, and they were all very mysterious. The words Tai Yin Mountain were also emitting an ancient and vigorous aura. On the other hand, the words Mysterious Sky Ancient Palace were suffused with a profound, ancient, and perfectly round aura fluctuation. The other 7 8-meter-tall stone tablets represented the forces: Big Dipper Overlord Sect, 7 Flames Glazed Palace, Giant Soul Heavenly Sect, White Cloud Mountain, Dark Sun Moon Palace, Ethereal Heavenly Palace, and Absolute Refining Sect. Everyone memorized the names of the 10 forces, but they were also guessing the difference between the 3 9-meter-tall stone tablets and the 7 8-meter-tall stone tablet. Was it the difference in the level of the forces? For example, the 3 9-meter-tall stone tablets represented a 9-star force, and the forces represented by the 7 8-meter-tall stone steels were 8-star forces. Yes or no, no one dared to make a conclusion, but it seemed to be possible after thinking about it. 8-star force. 9-star force. Thinking of this, everyone's breathing quickened, and they were very excited. Among the 12 middle regions, there were naturally 8-star forces, but there were very few of them. Only the stronger 6 middle regions had an 8-star force each, and the other 6 middle regions were led by 7-star forces. What was their purpose in entering the ancient battlefield and risking their lives to come to ancient War City? It was none other than the high sects. What was a high sect? 7-star, 8-star, and even 9-star forces. Chapter 1052. More than 800 people stood around the iron battle steel and scanned the 10 palaces around them. The 10 figures on top of the 10 palaces were also sizing up the 800 people. The fierce ancient war city's disciple selection will be conducted by the 3 9-star sects and 7 8-star sects in the Sky Pillar upper region. A vigorous voice sounded clearly in everyone's ears. Everyone quickly realized that it was the same voice that had asked them to gather around the iron battle steel. Soon after, everyone understood that the people on top of the 10 palaces were the 3 9-star sects and the 7 8-star sects in the Sky Pillar upper region. It seemed like the one with the 9-meter stone steel was a 9-star sect, and the 8-meter stone steel represented an 8-star sect. Their guess was correct. The 9-star sect, 5 Extinction Heavenly Palace, is divided into Martial Extinction, Sword Extinction, Saber Extinction, Chi Extinction, and Body Extinction. That vigorous voice rang out once again, slowly narrating. The voice carried a peculiar rhythm, causing one to be unable to help but listen attentively. Every word was clearly taken into one's ears and memorized in one's mind. The voice first gave a simple introduction of the 5 Extinction Heavenly Palace to let everyone have a preliminary understanding of the 5 Extinction Heavenly Palace. Then, it introduced the Tai Yin Mountain and the Mysterious Heaven Ancient Palace. The 3 9-star sects each had their own specialties and mysteries. After the introduction of the 3 9-star sects, it was the turn of the 7 8-star sects. For example, the Big Dipper tyrannical sect's biggest specialty was its cultivation of astral force. Its astral force was unparalleled, and its power was shocking in head-on combat. The sect was especially good at opening and closing martial arts. For example, the 7 Flames Glazed Palace's cultivation technique and martial arts were related to fire. Moreover, the palace had 7 types of unique fire origins. For example, the Titan Soul Heavenly Sect was a powerful sect that focused on body refinement. Their body refinement was unparalleled and their physique was shocking. As the vigorous voice slowly introduced the 9-star sects, everyone seemed to see a door that was slowly opening. Behind the door was a more powerful world that they yearned for. The eyes of the 800 people lit up. At the same time, the 3 people from the 3 9-star forces kept looking at the figure on top of the White Cloud Mountain Palace. Their eyes were filled with doubt. "Senior, you don't like to meddle in things. Why did you come here this time?" asked the people from Tai Yen Mountain. "I don't know. Rumor has it that this senior does things according to his own preferences." The person from the mysterious Heaven Ancient Palace was a woman. Her voice was gentle and contained a mysterious meaning. "Whatever purpose he has for coming here, it has nothing to do with us," the people from the 5 Absolute Heavenly Palace said coldly. The disciples of the 3 Great 9-Star Sect and the 7 Great 8-Star Sect are divided into the inner and outer sections. The outer sect disciples are divided into the mortal rank, earth rank, heaven rank. As for the inner sect disciples, there was no introduction. Most likely, the 800 people here did not need to know much about them, and also did not think that any of them had the qualifications to become an inner sect disciple. The 100 people whose names are on the Iron Battle Tablet have the right to choose. You can choose to join one of the top 10 sect and become its disciple. But remember, the 3 9-star forces can only provide 10 free spots. The remaining 70 people can choose to join any of the 7 Great 8-star forces. There is no limit to the number of people who can join. As for those who are not on the Iron Battle Tablet, the voice paused, but it made everyone nervous. Chernzong also did not know that it would be like this. Otherwise, he would have used all his strength to use the Grey Cloud Smash to get his name on the Iron Battle Tablet and get the right to choose. The reason why he did not use the Grey Cloud Smash at that time was because he had a thought. The Grey Cloud Smash was very strong, but he had not really grasped it. Every time he used it, he needed time to gather his strength before he could use it. Once he used it, he would use up all of his strength. The use of martial arts could not be separated from one's body and the circulation of strength. The circulation of strength was especially important. The higher the level of martial arts, the more mysterious and complicated the circulation of strength would be. Therefore, it would take a longer time. If there was not enough of it, or if one did not completely grasp it, it would take some time to achieve it. Moreover, it could not be interrupted. Otherwise, all the previous efforts would be wasted, and it might even cause the strength to become chaotic and injure oneself. If one was not proficient enough in a martial art, it could not be used as a normal battle method. Therefore, it could not be included in one's strength. After all, in a battle, no one would give you a chance to slowly gather your strength and use it to display a tyrannical attack. In a battle between experts, a moment was enough to decide life and death. Based on this point, Chernzong did not plan to use the Grey Cloud Smash to attack the Iron Battle Tablet to test his attack power. He did not expect that such a selection rule would appear. It was completely unexpected. After all, 8-star and 9-star forces were extremely powerful. Under normal circumstances, they should be the ones choosing, not the ones being chosen. Since things had come to this, no one could be blamed. They could only see if there were other opportunities. You all have the same chance to become disciples of the 7 major 8-star sect, and even the 3 major 9-star sect disciples. As soon as these words were spoken, most of the people's tensed nerves relaxed slightly. There was a chance, but it did not mean it was absolute. It was only a possibility, but at least it was a possibility. It was better than no possibility. The 100 people on the Iron Battle Tablet will choose first. Starting from the first place, the others will be announced later. The first place was Lu Yijue, who had 15-star battle strength and came from the 7-star sect of the Thousand Thunder region, but had betrayed the sect and called himself a loose cultivator. Of course, the people of the top 10 sect were not aware of this. I choose the 5-Ju Heavenly Palace, Lu Ijue said clearly without hesitation. Without a doubt, a 9-star sect was stronger than an 8-star sect. With the opportunity to choose first, he would naturally choose the 3 major 9-star sect. Only a fool would lower the standard. The voice's introduction just now allowed everyone to have some understanding of the top 10 sect. Lu Ijue had already calculated clearly in his mind which 9-star sect he would choose. Of the 3 major 9-star sect, the 5-Ju Heavenly Palace was undoubtedly more suitable for him. Approved. The people of the 5-Ju Heavenly Palace immediately waved their hands, and a stream of light flew towards Lu Ijue. Lu Ijue caught it, and the light dissipated, turning into a pentagonal black token. Come here. Lu Ijue smiled, and a smug look flashed in his eyes. His figure flashed, and he landed in the small palace of the 5-Ju Heavenly Palace. He was like a crane in a flock of chickens, with an indescribable sense of superiority. The second was Yun Yenshin, a genius of the central region who also had a 15-star attack power. He came from the 7-star sect of the Great Wind and Thunder sect. Therefore, the people of the top 10 sects were curious and paid attention to him. After all, they knew the mentality of the 7-star and 8-star forces of the central region. In their eyes, it was a kind of pride that could not be shown in public. I choose the 5-Ju Heavenly Palace. Yun Yenshin stared at Lu Ijue with anger and killing intent. Lu Ijue was stunned. Not aloud. The people of the 5-Ju Heavenly Palace suddenly said, and everyone was stunned. Even Yun Yenshin was the same. Lu Ijue had a 15-star attack power and was ranked first, so he was allowed to choose the 5-Ju Heavenly Palace. Although Yun Yenshin was ranked second, he also had a 15-star attack power and was rejected. It was unimaginable. Could it be that the 5-Ju Heavenly Palace only recruited one person? Yun Yenshin's face turned pale, and he quickly looked at Tai Yen Mountain and Mysterious Heaven Ancient Palace. You don't have to choose Tai Yen Mountain. I won't allow it, the people of Tai Yen Mountain said directly. Little girl, you may have good talent, but since the 5-Ju Heavenly Palace and Tai Yen Mountain have rejected you, my Mysterious Heaven Ancient Palace will not accept you, the woman from the Mysterious Heaven Ancient Palace said slowly. For a moment, everyone was silent. The 3 9-star forces had rejected Yun Yenshin. This was completely unexpected. Is it because of the 5-Ju Heavenly Palace's rejection that caused Tai Yen Mountain and Mysterious Heaven Ancient Palace to reject him? Chen Zong could not help but guess secretly. This kind of situation was possible. The 3 9-star forces would definitely compete with each other. If they accepted a person who was rejected by the 5-Ju Heavenly Palace, wouldn't it make them feel like they were being questioned? It was like 2 people who did not get along. One threw away something and the other picked it up and used it. They would be mocked by the other for being inferior. Unless Yun Yenshin could show better talent and ability. Or maybe it's because he came from a 7-star force? Chen Zong guessed again. However, only the person from the 5-Ju Heavenly Palace knew the truth. Yun Yenshin, I know you want to enter the 5-Ju Heavenly Palace because of me. Unfortunately, your motive is not pure, and you are not qualified. Lu Ijue's frivolous voice sounded again. Yun Yenshin was disappointed. Being rejected by the 3 9-star forces was a big blow. She was once a genius in the Thunder and Wind sect, but she was very disappointed. Little girl, if you want to practice the sword, why don't you come to my White Cloud Mountain? Suddenly, the middle-aged man in the palace of White Cloud Mountain smiled. His voice was as gentle as the spring breeze and as elegant as the clouds. It was like a clear spring that flowed into Yun Yenshin's heart and took away her disappointment. Thank you for your kindness. I am willing to join White Cloud Mountain. Yun Yenshin bowed to the middle-aged man of Baiyun Mountain and said loudly, I choose Baiyun Mountain. After receiving the token of White Cloud Mountain, Yun Yenshin appeared in the small palace of White Cloud Mountain. This change let everyone know that the 100 people on the Iron Battle Tablet did have the right to choose, but the top 10 sect also had the right to accept or not. The third place was Xia Shui, a genius from the central region who mainly cultivated physique. Little girl, our Titan Soul Heavenly Sect mainly cultivates physique. We are the best choice for you. The man from Titan Soul Heavenly Sect said in a muffled voice. He could feel the strong dragon power in Xia Shui's body. Thank you for your kindness, but don't the 3 9-star sects have physique cultivation? Xia Shui was not willing to join an 8-star force. After bowing to the man from Titan Soul Heavenly Sect, she glanced at the 3 9-star forces with some hope. The people from the 5-Ju Heavenly Palace ignored her, but the people from Tai Yin Mountain smiled and nodded. It was unknown whether they had a sect or not. Little girl, our mysterious Heaven Ancient Palace mainly cultivates qi and physique cultivation. The woman from the mysterious Heaven Ancient Palace smiled. I choose the mysterious Heaven Ancient Palace. Xia Shui only thought for 3 breaths before making her choice. The 4th place, Cui Mo, chose Tai Yin Mountain. Chapter 1053. In the end, Lu Yenji chose the 5 Absolute Heavenly Palace. Although he was very interested in the 7 Flames Glazed Palace's 7 Flames Glazed Palace, the 5 Extinction Heavenly Palace was stronger than the 7 Flames Glazed Palace as a whole. Rejected. The people of the 5-Ju Heavenly Palace said coldly, causing everyone to be stunned again. This was the second person to be rejected by the 5 Absolute Heavenly Palace. Lu Yenji was also stunned. It was completely out of his expectations that the 5 Extinction Heavenly Palace would actually reject him. Instantly, his face was burning. Everyone now had a deeper understanding of the 5-Ju Heavenly Palace. They were all guessing if Lu Yenji's previous comparison between the 7 Flames Glazed Palace and the 5-Ju Heavenly Palace had made the people of the 5-Ju Heavenly Palace unhappy and thus rejected him. You have a strong earth mystical flame. Come to my 7 Flames Glazed Palace. The person from the 7 Flames Glazed Palace was a beautiful woman dressed in palace attire. When she stared at Lu Yenji, a deep flame flashed in her eyes as if she could see through Lu Yenji. All right, I choose the 7 Flames Glazed Palace, Lu Yenji quickly said. If he rejected the 7 Flames Glazed Palace, perhaps the other 8-star forces would reject him as well. By then, he would have no fate with the top 10 sect. If he missed such an opportunity, he would regret it until he died. The person ranked 6th after Lu Yenji directly chose the 5 Absolute Heavenly Palace. He did not hesitate and was not rejected. Everyone seemed to have understood something. If they wanted to enter the 5 Extinction Heavenly Palace, they could not hesitate at all. Otherwise, they would be rejected. The 5 Absolute Heavenly Palace's attitude was so high, but it seemed to be even more attractive. It was Wu Lingkong's turn. Wu Lingkong did not hesitate either, choosing the 5 Absolute Heavenly Palace. Wu Lingkong majored in saber arts, and one of the 5 absolutes of the 5 absolutes of the 5 absolutes of the 5 absolutes was the saber absolute. There was something unique about the saber arts that attracted Wu Lingkong. At this point, the 5 Absolute Heavenly Palace's 10 spots had been filled. Not long after, the Tai Yin Mountain and the Mysterious Sky Ancient Palace's 10 spots were filled. The remaining people could only choose from the 7 8-star forces. Even though he wouldn't be able to join the 3 9-star factions, the 7 8-star factions were still pretty good. If he could join one of them, he would have a bright future ahead of him. However, among the 7 8-star sect, there were a few sects that were more special. For example, the Titan Soul Heavenly Sect was a body refining sect. Non-body refining cultivators generally wouldn't choose to enter, because it meant that they would have to start cultivating from the beginning and fall behind others. For example, the Absolute Refining Sect was a powerful sect that focused on refining weapons and pills. Take the Seven Flames Glazed Palace for example. It would be even better if one could control the unique flames of heaven and earth. One by one, they made their choice. In the end, all 100 people on the Iron Battle Monument chose to join the sect. Only 5 people chose the gigantic Soul Heavenly Sect, followed by 8 people who chose the Heavenly Dipper Overlord Sect. As for the Exquisite Refinement Sect, there were quite a few who chose it. They might not have the talent to forge weapons or concoct pills, but they would have an advantage in terms of spiritual weapons and pills. The others all focused their attention, and their expressions were somewhat heavy. That was because the people on the Iron Battle Monument had finished choosing, and now it was their turn. How to arrange it? Would he have a chance to join one of the 3 9-star forces? Would he have a chance to join one of the 7 great 8-star forces? This time, a total of 1,380 people entered the Ancient Lie battlefield and 820 people arrived at Ancient Lie War City. The vigorous voice sounded again, and the content it said shocked everyone. 1,380 people entered, and only 820 reached Lie Gu War City. What about the other 560 people? Are they all dead? Are they all dead? It was cruel, really cruel. One had to know that those 560 people were not ordinary people, but geniuses selected from various lower and central territories. That was more than 500 transcendent. The 100 people on the Iron Battle Monument have finished choosing, and the other 720 people have a chance to join the 10 Great Sect. There are 2 methods. The first method is to challenge one of the 100 people who have already entered the 10 Great Sect. If you defeat them, you can replace them. Does anyone want to challenge them? The 720 people did not speak, because everyone was waiting for the second method. After all, the 100 people were indeed very strong. Perhaps attack power did not represent a person's overall strength, but if one's attack power was strong, one's strength would not be weak. The second method is to challenge the Iron Battle Monument and test your attack power again. Now, those who choose the first method stand on the left, and those who choose the second method stand on the right. Remember, you only have one chance. Once you choose, you cannot change it. Once you attack, you cannot hold back. This was a moment that determined their fate, and everyone paid great attention to it. Everyone was pondering whether they should choose the first option or the second option. The first method was to challenge one of the 100 people. However, this method was extremely difficult because each and every one of the 100 people was extremely powerful. Defeating them was not an easy task, even for those who were ranked at the bottom of the Iron Battle Tablet. As for the second method, everyone had already tested it, so they knew how strong their attack power was. But they did not know how to choose from the 10 Great Sect. Suddenly, some people moved, most of them going to the right, only a small number of people going to the left. Yang Kai could clearly see that the cultivations of the several dozen people on the left weren't low, at least early Transcendent Realm 6th layer, but the strongest was mid-Transcendent Realm 6th layer. Some of their auras weren't as stable, obviously having broken through not long ago. It could be said that those who entered the ancient battlefield, as long as they did not die and arrived at Ancient War City, their cultivation had more or less improved, and their strength had also improved. Starting from the left, choose one person to challenge in turn. The first person in line was a mid-Transcendent Realm 6th layer cultivator. His eyes swept over the crowd and finally fell on a person from Sun Moon Dark Hall's camp. This person was also the last on the Iron Battle Monument. Do you think I'm a soft persimmon that you can pinch as you please? You'll regret it, this person sneered coldly, his eyes flashing fiercely as he made up his mind to teach the other party a lesson. The battle took place under the Iron Battle Monument. As soon as they attacked, they used their full strength, without any probing. Their auras were as fierce as stars. One wanted to protect their spot and teach the other party a lesson, while the other wanted to reverse their fate, going all out without any fear of death. The intensity of this battle left everyone speechless. Tyrannical chi overflowed everywhere, terrifying to the extreme. After a moment of fierce fighting, the outcome was clear. The challenger won and replaced the other party as a disciple of Sun Moon Dark Hall, while the one who was challenged and defeated first had a look of disbelief on his face, followed by a look of desolation. For a moment, he did not know what to do. The challenges continued, as if the first challenger's victory had given everyone a great boost in morale, giving the second challenger 100 times more confidence. However, the result was disappointing. In less than 10 moves, the second challenger was defeated. The third challenger was also defeated. 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 The next few dozen challengers were all defeated. Out of dozens of challengers, only one had won. This kind of ratio made people tremble in fear. There was only one chance, and those who failed the challenge would not have the chance to enter the 10 Great Sect, so everyone was disappointed. Next, it was the turn of the person on the right. Their opportunity was to attack the Iron Battle Monument again. Go all out. The first person standing in front of the Iron Battle Monument was a Transcendent Realm 5th Layer cultivator. His eyes seemed to spit fire as his 5 spirit wheels rotated at full speed. In an instant, his strength completely erupted, like a tornado soaring into the sky, his momentum astonishing. The people of the 10 Great Sects were all staring. With their cultivation realms and experience, they could see the level of the other party's martial arts attainments at a glance. They could also see through the other party's abilities. With a bang, this person used his full strength and struck the Iron Battle Monument. The Iron Battle Monument did not budge, but a golden light flashed. The person's name, origin, attack power, and so on all appeared on the Iron Battle Monument. However, the people from the 10 Great Sect did not say anything, obviously looking down on him. The second, the third, the fourth. It was not until the 5th person attacked that the person from the Big Dipper Tyrant sect spoke, because this person's spiritual highland was quite pure and his martial arts mastery was good, suitable for the Big Dipper Tyrant sect's path. Those who were not selected by the 10 Great Sect were also disappointed. They could only walk to the side and become spectators. Like the previous challengers, their hearts were filled with disappointment and confusion. What would happen to them, who had lost their chance and could not enter the 10 Great Sect? Would they be sent back to their original place? Or would they make other arrangements? The unknown made people feel uneasy. Chen Zong's position in the team was relatively at the back, so he was not in a hurry. In fact, even if it was his turn, Chen Zong would not be in a hurry. He would just do his best to fight for a chance for himself. The 6th. No sect chose him, so he walked to the side dejectedly. The 7th person was a body refinement cultivator, level 5 dragon power realm body refinement cultivator. His dragon power was unparalleled, and when he attacked, the dragon power surged, and a loud dragon roar could be heard. With a boom, a fist carrying a terrifying dragon power landed heavily on the Iron Battle steel. It was as if the Iron Battle steel was going to shatter. However, the Iron Battle tablet was undamaged, and it did not even budge. The fist energy turned into ripples and spread out. Golden light shone brightly, and words appeared. My giant soul heavenly sect wants this person. The burly man from the Giant Soul Heavenly Sect said in a muffled voice. No one competed with him, because this person specialized in body refinement Tao, and the Giant Soul Heavenly Sect was undoubtedly the most suitable. Since the Giant Soul Heavenly Sect had spoken, and the other sects did not compete, this person only had 2 choices. One was to enter the Giant Soul Heavenly Sect, and the other was to wait for an unknown fate like the others. He was not stupid, so of course he would choose the first option, which was to enter the Giant Soul Heavenly Sect. There were more than 600 people, and it would take some time to test them one by one. However, no one cared. Even if the time was 10 times longer, it would not be a problem. The 8th, the 9th, the 10th. It was not until the 15th person that someone from the 10 great sects spoke. It was the misty heavenly palace. One by one, they went up to test, using their full strength and even using their secret techniques to increase their attacking power, all for the sake of being chosen. Unfortunately, they did not understand that the 10 Great Sect was not only interested in attacking power, but also in other aspects. Chapter 1054. While a few people were happy, dozens were sad. Most of them had been eliminated, and only a small number had been selected. Those who stood in front of Chen Zong all felt nervous as they stepped forward and stood 10 meters away from the Iron Battle Monument. Taking a deep breath, they quickly calmed themselves down. Erupting with all their strength, they unsheathed their long swords and shot out like a rainbow, carrying with it a tyrannical momentum that could split mountains as they ruthlessly slashed at the Iron Battle Monument. But unfortunately, no one from the 10 Great Sect spoke up. "Brother Chen, you must do your best, don't hold back." Wu Lingkong's voice sounded in Chen Zong's ears. Wu Lingkong knew about Chen Zong's Iron Battle Monument test, and also knew that when he fought against Yu Xingji that day, he had used a very powerful sword skill, but it required time to accumulate and mobilize its strength. If it was a normal battle, a sword skill that required time to accumulate strength would of course not be of much use. But in a test, there was time. Therefore, Wu Lingkong was worried that Chen Zong wouldn't be able to enter the 10 Great Sect. This was not something he wanted to see. Chen Zong's eyes swept over the crowd and met Wu Lingkong's gaze, immediately calming Wu Lingkong down. He knew that Chen Zong didn't intend to hold back. At this time, a gaze landed on the long sword hanging on Chen Zong's waist. A trace of restrained brilliance flashed in the depths of his eyes, and the corners of his mouth seemed to hang a faintly discernible smile. 10 meters away from the Iron Battle Monument, Chen Zong stopped, his heartbeat slow and steady, his breathing slow and steady, his expression calm, without the slightest hint of nervousness. With a loud bang, a tyrannical force suddenly gushed out from Chen Zong's body. The eyes of the people from the 10 Great Sects all fell on Chen Zong. When Chen Zong's spirit energy surged out, none of them paid any attention to him because the aura fluctuations coming from him indicated he was only a late Transcendent Realm 5th layer cultivator. Moreover, they could tell at a glance that this person cultivated a very low spirit grade low-rank secret art. A trace of doubt arose in their minds. Up until now, they had sensed that at least the cultivators of the middle-grade spirit-level cultivation technique were practicing. Only this person who was practicing the low-grade spirit-level cultivation technique was able to reach the ancient war city. They had to say that he was very lucky. 100% of his spiritual energy. Azure Cloud Power. Even the members of the 10 Great Sects felt that the power of the Clear Sky Sect was ordinary. This kind of extraordinary secret power was not very strong. Heart Sword Force. However, when Chen Zong unleashed the second Transcendent Secret Energy and merged it with the first Transcendent Secret Energy, the expressions of the people from the 10 Great Sects changed slightly. Their eyes shone brightly. 2 kinds of extraordinary secret powers. Among the Great Sects, there were of course cultivators who had mastered 2 or even 3 kinds of extraordinary secret powers, but anyone who could master 2 kinds of extraordinary secret powers was a genius among geniuses and was worthy of intensive training. For a time, the 10 Great Sects members all had different thoughts. The spirit energy and the 2 types of transcendent secret powers instantly circulated in Chen Zong's body in an incomparably complex and mysterious way, and an incomparably mysterious aura also spread out. A brilliant azure light flashed, illuminating the surroundings, and a melodious sword cry filled the air. A boom could be heard, along with the faint roar of a dragon. An aura that was completely different from spiritual power exploded out from Chen Zong's body, slamming into his bones and muscles. Chen Zong's body seemed to swell up and become even more ferocious. Then, a dazzling purple flame with some dreamy colors rushed out of his body and burned fiercely, covering Chen Zong completely. It was as if he was covered in purple flames. Then, the dazzling purple dreamy flames were like flowing water, pouring into the long sword that was suffused with green light. Bearing the infusion of wave after wave of power, the profound light sword's body trembled slightly, and layers of ripples spread out. He lifted his right foot and took a step forward. It was incomparably heavy, as if a giant elephant was stepping on the ground. With a loud bang, the ground under his feet seemed to shake. Circles of ripples spread out rapidly along the ground with his right foot as the center, as if they were rolling up endless dust. A surge of counterforce rushed up through his right foot and through his right arm under Chen Zong's guidance. He drew his sword. It carried an incomparably tyrannical power, and was as heavy as a mountain, but it also had an indescribable nimbleness and swiftness, like a bird flying through the air. It filled the air with a unique and mysterious rhythm, making people's eyes light up and leave a deep impression. When the sword was drawn, the blade seemed to dissolve in the air and disappeared, leaving only a wisp of azure and purple smoke, like the smoke from a farmer's chimney at dusk, drifting forward slowly in the breeze. It was very, very slow, so that everyone could see it clearly. In fact, it was very, very fast, extremely fast. A distance of 10 meters was crossed in an instant. That light smoke that seemed to have no power at all suddenly exploded with a terrifying power the moment it approached the Iron Battle Monument. It was as if a dormant volcano had suddenly erupted. The power was fierce and unparalleled, destroying heaven and earth. It was as if a calm mountain had collapsed in an instant. With a loud bang, it was earth-shattering. The terrifying power was completely released in an instant and bombarded the Iron Battle Monument, creating layers of ripples. Then, a line of golden words appeared on the Iron Battle Monument, clearly visible. Chen Zong. Attack power a 9 stars. 4-star sect, Blue Cloud sect of the Floating Clouds lower region. It really can reach the 9 stars. Chen Zong stared at the golden words and revealed a smile, but the power in his body was exhausted, and he only felt his body was weak. He quickly took out a pill and consumed it to recover his exhausted power. No one spoke, and the surroundings were silent. Chen Zong frowned slightly, and a trace of disappointment rose in his heart. Could it be that his performance was not good enough to enter the eyes of the 10 Great Sect? Then, what should he do to make the 10 Great Sect look at him in a different light? Your sword technique is not bad. The 5-Ju Heavenly Palace will give you a place. Just as the disappointment rose in his heart, someone from the 5-Ju Heavenly Palace suddenly spoke with a cold and arrogant voice. Your sword technique is mysterious, and your realm is high. You are the most suitable to come to Tai Yin Mountain, someone from Tai Yin Mountain said with a smile. My mysterious heaven ancient palace is the most suitable for you. The voice of the woman from mysterious heaven ancient palace had an indescribable charm. Coming from a 4-star sect of the lower region, it was no wonder that he only cultivated a low spiritual level cultivation technique, but mastered 2 extraordinary secret powers. Based on the ability he displayed, it could be seen that he had very high attainments in the way of the sword. Genius. This was a true genius, like a piece of unpolished jade, which made people's hearts beat faster. You have mastered an earth flame, right? Come to my 7 flames glazed palace, and I will make the decision to give you the status of a heaven-grade outer sect disciple. You will receive an earth flame as soon as you enter the sect. Someone from the 7 flames glazed palace also spoke, competing with the 3 9-star sect, and directly promising Chen Zong all kinds of benefit. Come to my giant soul heavenly sect, and I will make the decision to give you the status of a heaven-grade outer sect disciple. I will let you cultivate a complete spiritual level body refining technique. Someone from the Giant Soul Heavenly Sect also spoke, inviting Chen Zong. My Absolute Refining Clan is very suitable for you. Enter my Absolute Refining Clan and become a Heaven-grade Outer Sect disciple, and I will make the decision to give you at least a 6th-grade spiritual sword and the corresponding spiritual pill. Someone from the Absolute Refining Clan also competed. In addition, my Absolute Refining Clan also has Earth Flame. Someone from the Dark Hall of Sun and Moon also spoke, promising Chen Zong benefits, and hoping that Chen Zong would join their sect. To be honest, Chen Zong was very tempted. Although the 3 9-star sects did not promise him any benefits, since they took the initiative to speak, and showed signs of wanting to compete, it meant that he was valued. Moreover, with his own ability, Chen Zong believed that he would be able to obtain enough benefits for himself. Moreover, the several 8-star sects also promised him benefits, and each of them was very tempting. Everyone else stared at Chen Zong with their eyes wide open, and each of them was shocked beyond words. Traces of jealousy rose from the depths of their hearts. Based on what? Based on what could a person with such a lowly background be valued and fought over by various sects, promising him all kinds of benefits? Based on what did this treatment not fall on them? Yu Xingji's eyes were filled with coldness, and his sharp gaze seemed to want to pierce through Chen Zong. Killing intent filled the air. Lu Yenji and Mao Yiming's faces were also cold, and their eyes were filled with killing intent. They could not wait to kill Chen Zong on the spot. Lu Yijue also stared at Chen Zong, and he was very unhappy. There was no reason, but because Chen Zong was being fought over by several sects, this kind of treatment should have appeared on him. Wu Lingkong was full of smiles, and he was happy for Chen Zong. As for Wu Lingkong's senior brother Lei Jing, junior brother Lei Feiming, and the others, they all had complicated expressions. Lai Jingyu and the others who were also from the Floating Clouds territory all had complicated expressions, and it was indescribable. Chen Zong was thinking about which sect to choose. One of the 3 9-star sects? Or one of the 8-star sects? Boy, is the dark light sword useful? Suddenly, someone from Baiyun Mountain spoke with a smile on his face, which made Chen Zong stunned, and he raised his head to look. However, the person from Baiyun Mountain did not say anything. For a moment Chen Zong also made his choice. Chen Zong is indebted to all the seniors. After thinking about it, Chen Zong can only apologize to all the seniors. Chen Zong spoke, and as he spoke, he bowed and apologized to the people from the various sects who were fighting over him. Finally, he faced Baiyun Mountain and said loudly, "I choose Baiyun Mountain. You're on your own." The person from Wujue Heavenly Palace had a trace of coldness in his eyes, and his voice was cold. He personally invited but was rejected, which made him very unhappy, and he suddenly disliked Chen Zong. As for the others, they did not feel anything and did not fight for it. Chen Zong walked towards Baiyun Mountain's camp, and the others continued to take the test. Chen Zong's matter seemed to have motivated everyone, but soon reality gave them another slap to wake them up. There was only one Chen Zong, and there was only one situation like this. When the test ended, a small number of people were selected, and most of them were eliminated. In addition to recruiting 10 people each, the 3 9-star sects also competed for Chen Zong. After that, they did not speak again because no one caught their attention. The 7 8-star sects recruited people one after another, and the total number was more than 100 people. In other words, about 500 people were eliminated. What awaited them was an unknown fate, and they did not know where to go. Qi Jiutian and Qi Longhai's luck was not bad. Although they were not good in other aspects, they had mastered a type of Earth Wondrous Fire and Earth Wondrous Water. Therefore, Qi Jiutian joined the Absolute Refinement Clan, and Qi Longhai joined the Sun Moon Dark Hall. This was something that Lai Jingyu and the others could not compare to. Chapter 1055. The 10 years of intense battle had finally come to an end. At least for those who had already entered the 10 great sects, but for the others it was just an end. Fortunately, although they did not enter the 10 great sects as disciples, at least they were not completely abandoned. They still had the opportunity to participate in the assessment of the 7-star forces in the Sky Pillar Upper Province, which would determine whether they could enter and become a disciple of a 7-star force. Taking a step back, becoming a disciple of a 7-star force was not a bad thing. The difference between a 6-star force and a 7-star force was also very obvious. In the air above the Iron Battle Monument, the 100-meter white light once again spun faster. With the 5-Jew Heavenly Palace at the lead, the entire small palace instantly flew up into the air, bringing along the people of the 5-Jew Heavenly Palace and the 10 disciples who had joined the 5-Jew Heavenly Palace. They all rose into the air, nearing the 100-meter white light, and then entered it. Then, the people of Tai Yen Mountain followed by the people of Mysterious Sky Ancient Palace. They took turns. The small palace of White Cloud Mountain rose into the air, bringing the middle-aged man and the 22 people who had joined White Cloud Mountain into the white light. The moment Chen Zong entered the white light, he felt as though he was bathing in the warm light. His entire body was relaxed, and all his fatigue was gone. The energy in his body was also recovering at an astonishing speed. After passing through the white light, it was as though he had entered another world. The scenery was picturesque, the sky was blue, and the earth was clear. The vigorous yuan qi of heaven and earth was vast and incomparably pure like a storm, shocking everyone who entered this world for the first time. The places he had stayed in the past were like a small pond compared to a vast ocean when compared to this place. As he inhaled and exhaled, the vigorous and pure yuan qi of heaven and earth constantly surrounded him from all directions and poured into his body. It was as though his body was undergoing a deep level of refinement. Chen Zong could clearly feel that his body was bathed in the vigorous and pure yuan qi of heaven and earth. It was extremely comfortable, and he felt as though the burden in his body was gradually being removed. It was the impurities hidden in the depths of his body. The better the body, the less impurities there would be in the body. The yuan qi of heaven and earth in the upper province was very rich. Those who entered the upper province for the first time would need to undergo a process of adaptation. Naturally, the process of adaptation was to accept the baptism of the yuan qi of heaven and earth in the upper province. The reason why the people of the upper province were more outstanding than the people of the middle and lower province was because they had lived in the vigorous and pure yuan qi of heaven and earth for many years. Baptism was a necessary process. The small palaces of the 10 great sects transformed one after another. The small palace of the White Cloud Mountain transformed into a white cloud that was 100 meters in size. It floated several thousand meters in the air, seemingly slow, but actually very fast. The 10 great sects were located in different locations and left one after another. As for the 500 people who couldn't enter the 10 great sects, they left ancient Lai War City and went to the Sky Pillar Upper region. On the ground, there was a group of 7-star forces waiting there. There were a total of 27 star organizations here. In other words, the 500 people had even more choices. Naturally, the 500 people would be informed of the situation of the 27 star factions so that it would be easier for them to make a choice. However, once they made a choice, they could not change it. They would follow the people of that faction back to the sect and undergo the assessment. If he passed the test, he would naturally become a disciple of that faction. If he failed, he would be expelled from the sect and become a rogue cultivator to a large extent. In the upper district, there were more experts and experts. If one were to become a rogue cultivator, it would undoubtedly be more dangerous. If one was not careful, one could easily be killed. Therefore, this was their last chance. They had to choose carefully. A 100-meter-long white cloud streaked across the sky and slowly drifted forward. Its speed was very fast. In the blink of an eye, it had traveled 10,000 meters. The middle-aged man from White Cloud Mountain was sitting leisurely in a corner of the cloud. He held an ancient bronze gourd in one hand and was leisurely drinking wine in an incomparably leisurely manner. The other 22 people were standing as if they had turned into statues. They were enveloped by the vigorous and incomparably pure yuan qi of heaven and earth as they underwent the baptism. The middle-aged man with white sideburns was drinking wine while paying attention to the 22 people. When people from the lower and middle districts first entered the upper district, they would undergo the baptism of the yuan qi of heaven and earth. Their bodies would be purified and their cultivation talent would be enhanced. However, the degree of the baptism was closely related to the individual's body. The longer the baptism, the deeper the baptism, and naturally, the greater the benefit. While undergoing the baptism, one would also enter a special state where all distracting thoughts would be removed. Their mind would be clear, and they would gradually understand some of the problems that they couldn't figure out in the past. 15 minutes later, someone woke up and the baptism ended. That was the potential of his body. 1, 2, 3, 15 minutes later, 18 of the 22 people woke up and stopped the baptism. It's amazing. I feel like my body has become much lighter. It's like I've been reborn. The 18 people moved their hands and feet and exclaimed. It really felt like they had been reborn. It was no less than consuming a heavenly treasure with amazing effects. Suddenly, one of the remaining 4 people moved. A blood-red halo gushed out from his body and rushed into the sky. It emitted a shocking aura that attracted everyone's attention. Oh, he's awakened his bloodline. The middle-aged man from White Cloud Mountain also looked over with a hint of interest and curiosity in his eyes. Some people would awaken their bloodline after undergoing the baptism of the yuan qi of heaven and earth. However, not all cultivators would awaken their bloodline. After all, in order to awaken one's bloodline, one must first possess the potential of a certain bloodline. Awakening one's bloodline would mean that one was different from ordinary cultivators. However, what kind of bloodline did this person awaken? What level of bloodline was it? However, the middle-aged man made a judgment based on his past experience when he saw the aura that the person exuded. The light in his eyes dissipated, and he returned to his casual look. Obviously, the bloodline was quite ordinary in his opinion. However, the person who had awakened his bloodline was very excited. He did not expect that there was such a hidden power in his body. Once it was activated, it could significantly increase his strength. It was as if he had obtained a permanent secret technique that would never expire. One should know that secret techniques had different levels. As one's cultivation base increased, the secret technique's level would have to increase as well. Otherwise, it would not be able to keep up. However, the awakened ability would not weaken. In fact, it would gradually strengthen as one unearthed the bloodline ability. The 20th person woke up but did not awaken any bloodline. However, after the baptism, his body felt very comfortable. He felt that his cultivation base was about to break through. He was overjoyed that he would be able to break through a small level after cultivating for a few days. Not to mention other things, just the baptism after entering the upper province was a great thing. It was something that could not be enjoyed in the central and lower provinces. This was also why so many people wanted to enter the upper province. Unfortunately, the 4 upper provinces were connected to the Supreme Saint Realm, but there was a huge gap between them and the 12 central and 36 lower provinces. Without a Saint Realm cultivation base, it was impossible to cross it. When a Saint Realm master came from the central and lower provinces to the upper province, even if they received the baptism, the effect would be very weak. If a Foundation Establishment Realm Master received such a baptism, he would not be able to bear it and would collapse on the spot. The transcendent realm was the most suitable. Out of the 22 people, only 2 were still receiving the baptism. One was Chern Zong and the other was Yunyanshin. In the blink of an eye, another quarter of an hour had passed. The 2 people did not stop, which surprised the 20 people. Although they did not know what the baptism of World Yuan Qi was, they felt great benefits from it. They were not stupid and knew that the longer they stayed, the greater the benefits would be. Chern Zong and Yunyanshin were both immersed in the baptism and did not sense anything in the outside world. If someone wanted to kill them, they could do so directly. However, the middle-aged man, Bai Shan Yun, was right next to them. Unless someone was stronger than him, it would be impossible to kill them. Of course, masters stronger than the middle-aged man from Bai Shan Yun Shan were masters who could move unhindered in the sky bearing upper province. 2 transcendents were like ants to them. Another quarter of an hour passed. Finally, the extremely rich World Yuan Qi around Yunyanshin dissipated, and she woke up. The feeling she gave off was that her temperament had become more outstanding and her aura had become pure. Yunyanshin smiled faintly. Feeling that her cultivation was on the verge of a breakthrough, she was overjoyed. Before, her cultivation was at the peak of the 7th layer of the transcendent realm. Now, she was close to her limit. After cultivating for a few days, she was confident she could reach the peak of the 7th layer of the transcendent realm. After that, she would be able to break through to the 8th layer of the transcendent realm. Only with a higher cultivation and stronger strength would she be able to make Lu Yijue pay the price he deserved. About 30 breaths later, the extremely rich and pure World Yuan Qi around Chern Zong gradually dissipated, revealing Chern Zong's figure. The peak of the transcendent 5th layer. That's right, after this baptism, not only did Chern Zong remove some of the impurities hidden in his body, but it also improved his cultivation from the late stage of the transcendent 5th layer to the peak of the transcendent 5th layer. Another benefit was that Chern Zong now had a deeper understanding of the sword move he named Azure Cloud Shattering, allowing him to display it much faster. Chern Zong estimated that it would take him 3 breaths to gather his strength before, but now it would take him 2 breaths. The more he comprehended, the more Chern Zong understood the mysteries of that sword move, making him feel like he was looking up at a towering mountain. The middle-aged man's gaze first fell on Yunyanshin, then turned to Chern Zong and nodded secretly. After completely waking up, Chern Zong quickly turned to look at the middle-aged man. The biggest reason he chose Bai Shan Yun Shan at that time was because of the other party's words. Is the profound light sword useful? These words caused Chern Zong to have many speculations. The other party knew about the profound light sword. In other words, didn't it mean that the profound light sword was related to the other party or Bai Shan Yun Shan? Then, was the nameless sword move also related to Bai Shan Yun Shan? Or was it related to the middle-aged man in front of him? However, regardless of whether it was related to the middle-aged man in front of him or Bai Shan Yun Shan, Chern Zong made a choice. Bai Shan Yun Shan, you're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.